Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, the motion picture you're about to see contains scenes so terrifying, the public must be given grave warning.
Hello? Oh no. Hi. We Hello, welcome to another episode of Bloody Binge. And I am not normally supposed to be here. I am Friday, and unfortunately, our amazing host, Sewer Dweller, is having a few technical difficulties.
All right, how about now? Is this working now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, good. I got a new microphone for Christmas and I'm still playing with it to mess around with it. So I'm going to go back to the old headphones for this week and then play with
Okay.
it a little bit later on. But hello, welcome to the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. Again, I am your host, Sewer Dweller. And with me this week is Friday. She's going to join us for Shredder.
Hi. Thank you.
So I'm just making sure we're live everywhere. And apparently my Twitter, we are not. So again, something we'll work on a little bit later. This is one of the problems with waiting to the last second or not having time until the last second to start working on stuff. But let's see, is it working now? So we're not going to be on Twitter this week. But welcome to the podcast. It is our year-end episode. We're doing Shredder, and surprisingly enough, I did not plan on a Christmas movie, and technically it's not a Christmas movie, but there are Christmas decorations in this movie, which I thought was really, really weird. This is a movie I've had on my list for a while, and I never got around to watching.
I didn't hear about it until you told me about it right before the show.
Yeah, I mean, working at Blockbuster, there's a lot of movies I saw around and everything like that, and this is one of the ones that kept jumping out at me. But I was like, it's really because for some reason it reminds me of like a '90s movie, but in reality it came out in like 2001. But for some reason, like in my head, it's like this is a '90s movie. This is a '90s movie. And as big of a horror movie fan as I am, the late '90s, I really wasn't. I don't really care too much for some of that late '90s stuff. Like, surprisingly enough, I'm not a fan of Scream.
That is fine.
Yeah,
It,
I love my slasher movies, but for some reason, Scream doesn't do it for me.
It's not one of my favorites either, to be honest.
Well, there we go. Now I don't feel so bad. But all right, guys. Like I said, this is a year-end episode. We're going to do some awards for the movies that we've watched so far this year. We are coming up in the next couple of months. I want to say by the first week of April will be our 1 year anniversary. So we're going to do something special for that. But since this is um, the final time we will be with each other until 2025. I figured let's go ahead and uh, give some awards out. Have a special episode this week. And I want to thank Friday for joining me.
I am grateful to be part of the show. I love the show. You probably noticed me in the audience.
I just a couple of times. Let's see where. Okay, now I'm not gonna lie. I'm winging the news and everything this week because again, I just haven't had time this week. We one of our cars went down, so driving the wife back and forth to work, trying to DoorDash and everything like that, trying to do my job, trying to get Christmas ready and everything. I just really hadn't had time to work on anything this week, so I made sure nothing like waiting until the last second, right?
Oh, I'm very good at that. I do that a whole lot. I am way too overwhelmed to not do everything at the last second.
Exactly. I feel like I do my best work at the last minute.
I have enjoyed all the work I've seen you do.
Thank you very much. Give me 1 second. My kid needs something.
Understandable. This is actually one of my favorite shows to get to tune in the evening while I'm cooking dinner. I get to hang out with a friend and he talks about sometimes really awful movies, sometimes really good movies. And I'm looking forward to find out what awards he has for each episode.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to take about a minute or so. My aunt needs out of the driveway, and she decided to wait until I went live to tell me this.
Okay.
So could you give Friday? Could you entertain the group for about a minute or two? This won't take long.
Okay. I will
I apologize. Everybody knows I go live between 4 and 5. This is really stupid.
Yes.
Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry, guys.
It's okay. We got this. Okay, guys. What was your favorite movie that he's done so far? Do you guys have any movies that you hated most that he's done so far? Can you tell us in the comments? Um, thank you, Steven. I appreciate it. I think for me, I have truly enjoyed his Shivers podcast and going back through there. And he's I'm looking forward to seeing the movies that he brings up in the New Year's. And so far, I think my favorite one that he's done so far is the huh. Moving Violations was definitely one of my most favorites. And I liked Krampus. I despise the medieval Thanksgiving. Um I always look forward to the news he brings. And I'm going back through his old stuff on his original channel before he joined us on the Owlite Network because I just uh I'm actually very new to learning about him because I found out about him through his haunt career through Raz. And I think I have definitely enjoyed uh seeing the new to me movies that he has done. I am really sucking at this badly because I am I don't know the flow as well. But um hmm This one that we are doing tonight was the first time I'd ever actually seen it today. And
I am so sorry, guys.
I am so sorry I've sucked at this. I apologize.
Oh no, I'm still learning stuff too. This is stuff that should have been done before I went live. They knew everybody in this house knows I go live between 4 and 5.
Mhm.
So I'm a little. Bear with me. I'm a little out of breath. But we're gonna go ahead and get started with our. What were you talking about though, Jen? Before we get started on anything.
I had asked them what their least favorite movie is that you've uh done an episode
Oh,
about. I've asked them what their most favorite was, and I told them about moving violations being my favorite, and shivers are always episodes that I look forward to. And I have enjoyed going back and seeing movies I didn't even know about through your older episodes, watching them and hearing what you've had to say.
and that's why I do this podcast. I want to try to bring movies, that a lot of people probably haven't seen or probably haven't heard of, to the forefront. Because you go online, everybody, well, especially when you talk about like 80s horror, you're always talking about The Thing, your major slashers like your Jasons, your Freddys, and stuff like that, and Halloweens. But the 80s were so chock full of great horror
Yes.
that just falls under the radar because they never got DVD releases or Blu-ray releases. That even some of them didn't even get VHS releases. Like when I watched Haunted Ween back in Halloween, that's the first time I'd ever seen that one. Never even knew it existed until, and thankfully Tubi exists because Tubi is just opened the door for so many great movies to be, listed and viewed.
Mhm. We agree. We
Um,
said that all the time on the Tomb of the Terrible. If it wasn't for Tubi, half
yes.
the movies we wanted to watch we probably wouldn't get to.
Yeah,
We
and sorry, go ahead.
I wish they'd sponsor us.
Well, they're owned by Fox and Disney, so I don't know. I don't know how well that would go. Especially
Probably
with
not.
yeah. Um, but I've got Netflix, I've got Hulu, I've got all pretty much a lot of the streaming services because I haven't had cable in almost 10 years now, and um, I don't find anywhere near as many movies to watch as I do on Tubi, or even I think a couple have been from Troma, because Troma now has their own streaming service as well, and you're gonna find a lot of obscure movies there. But you're gonna pay for it, of course, not like Tubi. Um, and YouTube, of course, is now starting to. There's people starting to list a lot of movie and put up a lot of movies on YouTube as well. So, but Tubi is still my go-to, in all honesty. And for Shivers, I enjoy doing Shivers. The first two episodes, again, were more like about my experiences in places that I've been before, that I've investigated before. As I said in the episode, Colonial Williamsburg is one of my favorite places to go, especially back home when I lived back in Virginia. Whenever I was having feeling, my depression was hitting me hard, or I was feeling down or just bored. Colonial Williamsburg was a 45-minute drive north, um, and it's easy to get to. And every time I went there, it would make you feel better. You could make a day out of it. You can make night, just an evening out of it, and just walk around, and it's just a different vibe there.
I hope for more episodes like that, places you've been able to explore and tell us about your experiences. I love that.
And I plan on. I haven't really, since moving to Dayton, I haven't really got to go anywhere and do anything. Surprisingly enough, I've lived in Dayton for 11, it going on 12 years next year, and I have never once spent a day in Cincinnati, and it's less than an hour. And it's like an hour away. The longest I've spent in Cincinnati was pretty much about the length of time it would take to go watch a video game or go watch a baseball game. Just haven't had the time. I worked for Frito Lay for 7 years, and working for them, I was going to work at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So you'd have to wake up at 1. So you're going to bed early. You're working all kinds of hours and that, and just did not have time. So hopefully the next year we'll have a little more time. I got a few things planned. Hopefully with the YouTube channel and that of doing a little exploring. I don't do the whole like urban exploring thing where you go inside without permission and stuff like that, or you go investigate like abandoned buildings and that. Just because I'm not worried about the paranormal dangers, I'm worried about the real life dangers.
Falling through a floor?
Falling through a floor, encountering like a crackhead or a meth head that decides to use that building or that sewer or that whatever as their den that they want to shoot up in. Just
That
bad
was
people, and yeah, bad, because we watch a lot of these videos on YouTube. These people who do go investigating these buildings, there is a lot of a lot of times they run into another human being. And that's what, that's the one thing. Even growing up, I was never scared of monsters. I was scared of other people. I was scared of somebody breaking into the house more than I ever was of monsters.
I
But
can honestly say, yeah, that is the one thing Scooby-Doo has taught us. The monsters are actually the humans around us at times.
this is true. But okay, so as usual here on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast, we're going to dive into our weekly roundup of haunt and horror movie news. Needless to say, there still isn't a lot of haunt industry news out there because everybody's wrapping up their 2024 season. Everybody's wrapping up their Christmas haunts and that, getting ready for the new year. And a lot of the building won't start. A lot of places won't start building until, in my experience, June, July, somewhere around that area. I know Hell's Dungeon does have a Valentine's haunt coming up. Um, we're having trouble streaming. We might be off at another location. But oh, there we go. It's fixed. Um, they're doing their or we're doing a 2-day haunt this year for Valentine's. Usually we only do one. I know we're doing the Valentine's haunt itself both nights, and then on Saturday nights they do a murder mystery. Fred hires basically a crew to come in and do a murder mystery dinner for as like a Valentine's date and that. So hopefully, everything goes well. I know last year they had to cancel it because they didn't get enough people to sign up, but I think they'll do good this year. But a lot of haunts will do Friday. We'll do Valentine's haunts and Easter haunts and that. But it's hard to get news this time of year. Um, but we do got a couple of news stories. Uh, one of them is a sad one. I know a lot of people already heard of it, but Party City is shutting down. They are going out of business. It announced that it will close all 748 stores in North America by February 28th, citing inflation, changes in consumer spending, which
I
I've always. Go ahead.
I
I've
was
always. Oh, sorry.
agreeing.
Go ahead. You were doing what?
I was just agreeing that it was bad.
Well, I mean, I've always wondered how Party City stays and has stayed in business as long as it has, anyways. Because the only time I ever see anybody in there is at Halloween. And I forgot to shut my ringer off. There we go. I'm just not into it today. I am. But yeah, like I said, I've never seen anybody in there outside of like Halloween and maybe Christmas. Um, I'm not a big party person though. I've never, you know, had to plan a party or have a party or anything like that. So that could be one of the big reasons I haven't seen nobody. But
The
um,
largest amount of people I've seen in there is usually for church functions.
mhm,
A quick and easy way to get large amounts of things for that.
yeah, I can see that, candy and things like that. Yeah, but it's gonna put a damper on um the animatronics for like your Halloween decorating and that, because they had some really good animatronics and they had really cheap prices for Halloween decorations. I think somebody said they have like $20 skeletons right now that they're doing clearance, which anybody who buys skeletons knows those things are usually like $60 to $80, and those are for the cheap ones. So like, yeah, like they've always had the better prices. I got a lot of my decorations from there. A lot of my makeup and costuming and that. So it's gonna be sad to see it go. I know one of the ones up here. They just got a remodel like last year and told me. I think I went in there and was looking for some Halloween stuff. I'm like, "Where's your Halloween stuff?" And they told me last year they're like, "Yeah, it's only going to be online now." So
That is actually kind of saddening and kind of hard for some people.
yeah, I mean, it just seems to be the way retail's going, though. In all honesty, because you got Best Buy or Big Lots shutting down all their stores. We got a couple of things from there over the weekend. They're not really clearance priced yet, but so we got a couple of cheap things and got an attitude from the cashier, so that's always a plus.
Oh yeah,
But
they.
it's like unless you're a big box store like Walmart or Kroger or Macy's or one of these other big stores, everybody's ordering online. This Christmas, my aunt never once left the house to go Christmas shopping. The wife kind of did, but only when I forced her to. I I prefer brick and mortar. I don't want to order my stuff online.
Unfortunately, for a couple things, I didn't have a choice. I had to order online because of what they were. They were so obscure that for my little area in the world of Texas, that I had to go online.
Yeah, and I get that, but like my aunt's ordering stuff that you could have just easily went to the store and purchased, and it's because she doesn't want to go to the stores. She likes doing it like this. Like this is the woman who used to go the day after Thanksgiving. Every year she'd be the first one out there fighting the crowds and everything like that. And now she's just like, yeah, I'll just order everything before Thanksgiving. Which I mean, it is fine if it works for you. I always prefer going to stores. I always have. It's one of them things where when I was younger and I got bored, again, that's something I would do. Is I just I'll just go see what Walmart has. Walk around Walmart for a little bit just to get out of the house. You know.
Done that a
Um,
lot.
yeah. Well, see, and the thing is, I grew up on the beach, but I hated the beach. Um, we had being from Virginia Beach, we were a big, huge, we were a really big tourist area for the East Coast. Especially come August, we had like the East Coast Surfing Championships and that, so it would just be packed down there at all times. Um, and just to go in there really wasn't, appealing for somebody who lived, who was a local. And the only other beaches in the area would have been like the ones that basically the locals went to were the ones off the bay. And I'm not a swimmer. In all honesty, I can't swim. So going to the beach just to swim wasn't a thing for me. But yeah, it's by I guess February 28th. Um, let's see, decision comes after the company filed for bankruptcy in 2023 and struggled to recover despite shedding $1 billion in debt. So they got rid of $1 billion in debt, but they're still in debt. Jeez. But moving on, we're going to go out to the West Coast for Disneyland because they have unveiled Madame Leota's Somewhere Beyond, a new Haunted Mansion inspired shop that debuted on December 23rd, 2024. And just beyond the iconic attraction, the shop celebrates the eerie elegance of Madame Leota, the medium featured in the ride. I'm interested to see what they have
Yes.
because I love Madame Leota. Madame Leota is one of my favorite characters on the Haunted Mansion. That actually, hold on, see if we can get this uploaded real quick. Got a picture from inside the store at least.
Awesome.
Yeah, see, do it like this. All right, where did you save to? Let's try this one more. Try this one more time. Uh, because of the picture, I don't think I'll be able to load it. It's a
You
web.
cannot do share screen.
Oh, oh, how do I do this? Present, right?
Uh, yes, you hit
Is-
present and you hit share screen, and then you can either choose something on your computer or from your browser.
all right, where in the world did it? And there we go. Can you see it?
Yes,
Yeah, basically this is the picture from the article that I'm looking at. Um, and it looks pretty cool.
yes, it does. That is beautiful.
And I mean, it's really just a gift shop, but I love the way they have it. That's one of the things Disney will always be really good at doing is presenting the way they present stuff. Um, let's get back over here. Stop screen. There we go. The way they present stuff, the way they theme everything, and that is always going to be top notch. Them and Universal both. So definitely something to look at if you go. If you're in the California Disneyland area, I've never been to California. I've never been to I've been to Disney World a couple of times, but never Disneyland. Needless to say, because I've never been to California. I know my mom always told me stories that she was there the first year it opened. She was very, very young, but she was there the first year it opened. But moving on to our next story, back over to the East Coast to Orlando, Florida, because Universal's Epic Universe continues construction and they are ahead of its May 22nd, 2025 opening with recent fire effect tests for the Frankenstein inspired Burning Blades Tavern in the Dark Universe land. I'm excited for Dark Universe. Like, that's what's going to get me to go to Universal again.
It,
Do you know anything about the Dark Universe for Friday?
I know that I am looking forward to seeing what creatures they choose to take and put in the park. I hope they actually get to go see it.
Yes.
The werewolf would be so fun to meet.
The Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, Bride of Frankenstein. It's basically going to be its own theme park. Like it's going to be like a third park or fourth park, I guess technically, because everybody keeps forgetting about Volcano Bay. But there's going to be like a fourth park, and in this part, you're going to have lands of I know it's the Universal monsters. I think How to Train Your Dragon is going to be one of the lands. Um, I don't know if Super Mario or Nintendo World maybe. And then there's one more land I can't think of off the top of my head. Because the only one I've been looking forward to basically is the Universal Horror is what I've been looking forward to and I've been excited about, especially after seeing some of the video of the animatronics they're going to use.
That is definitely something I would love to take the whole family to see. I know my husband, mother in law, and middle child would love to go.
Yes, and one other thing too is I wouldn't mind because last time I've been to Universal Studios, they were still building the first Harry Potter world. I still haven't been there to see Harry Potter, so I would like to go see that as well. But
I've
yeah, this
never
is probably
been.
you never been to Universal.
No.
It's pretty fun. It really is my favorite ride. I think they actually took it out. Was the Mummy.
Oh,
Uh, that was
that
like a
one looks
lot of
fun.
fun. Yeah, like you're talking. It's been over 16 years since I've been. I think last time I went, I was 30 years old. So yeah, it's been about 16 years since I've been. But other than that, that's all of our haunt news. There's still a couple of local or not local, but haunts open for the holidays that are still going to open one more time in December. You've got in Arkansas the Folklore Slaughterhouse in Gravesville, Yuma Nightmares in Yuma, Arizona. Both of them are going to be open on December 28th. In Florida, you have the Wentz Brothers Festivals of Fear in Mary Esther, Florida on the 28th. Laurel's House of Horror in Laurel, Maryland on the 28th. Factory of the Dead in Saginaw, Michigan from the 27th through the 28th. Oklahoma, you have Mad Jack's Haunted House. They're going to in Ardmore, Oklahoma on December 28th. Tennessee has Dread Hollow in Chattanooga on the 28th and January 4th. And then finally in Texas. I don't know how close you are to Plano.
Okay.
How close are
Sorry.
you to Plano? Are you good?
There's a kid problem. I'm sorry.
Oh
Give
no,
me
you're
two
good.
seconds and I'll answer your question.
That's fine. But in Plano, Texas, Dark Hour will be open on the 28th. But those are the haunts that are still going to be open one more time this holiday season. Keep a lookout in your area for local haunts that will be open for Valentine's Day, Easter. I think some will be open for. I think I've seen a couple will open on St. Patrick's Day, um, and many other things like that.
Okay. How close am I to which one?
Plano, Texas.
Uh, very a decent mile away.
I say because that's the only one in Texas that is still open. One more day in December. It's Dark Hour in Plano. So, other than that, I think the next time we'll see a haunted houses open is probably going to end up being Valentine's. You'll see a few, at least some of the indoor ones, because I heard a lot of the outdoor ones that were going to do Christmas haunts had to close because of weather. But horror movie news again, it's really slim out there right now because again the holiday season. Um, Not many people are really working in Hollywood, let alone everywhere anywhere else. But the one big news story we have, of course, Nosferatu came out on Christmas Day. I still need to go see that. I love the original and the remake. Actually, the remake's pretty good too.
I
Um,
love the original. I have not seen the remake yet.
it's a little more in depth. It's almost like it's a little more in depth than I think they even, if I remember, I think they kept it silent too. I don't. I don't remember much talking on it. Then there was last year that last voyage of the Demeter. That one ended up being pretty good too. But
That one
I
was
am,
really good.
yeah, that really was, and I'm looking forward to seeing Nosferatu, the modern telling of it. It's a 100-year-old movie. I'm really interested to see how they put a modern spin on it. But the one big story we have this year or this week, Friday, have you ever seen the movie Street Trash from the 80s?
I think so. It's been a long time.
Um, it's basically I've only seen it a couple of times, so it's I might not have the premise down, but I know it's a bunch of homeless people um in New York City attacking. They get like infected with some kind of virus or slime, and they attack a bunch of people. It's actually really good. It's a really good movie. I enjoyed it. Well, they've made a new one,
They
and right
have?
now it is, yes, they have, and it is streaming on Screenbox. It's a
Okay.
wild and Yeah, it is a wild and crazy spiritual sequel to the 1980s cult horror classic, directed this time by Ryan Kruger. Street Trash is now streaming exclusively on Screenbox. Uh, the Screenbox original Splatterfest is a 35 millimeter reboot of the 80s cult classic, following a group of homeless misfits in their fight for survival against an extermination plot. Looking at the people in it, I don't really recognize any of these names. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll definitely have to check that out because I really do enjoy the original Street Trash.
Oh yeah, that one was fun.
It was like, especially if you're a gore fan, a fan of gore. That yeah, that has everything you like in it. That there was some nasty stuff that made me start turning. Um, so like I said, there's not much news. I mean, there's some more news, but it's really like this is Bloody Disgusting's list of best video games for 2024, and there's trailers and things like that. And I don't really like playing trailers on here because we already got in trouble once with me showing videos, and I don't want to do that again. The only other news on here that I see that a lot of people would, be interested in is Terrifier 3 being back in theaters. So we're going to move on to our 2024 awards, our end of the year awards. I think total, let's see, where's my list? Including Shredder today, we've done 23 movies here on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. Halloween season, we kind of got a little scarce there because of the haunt and basically not having time to do the stuff because of the haunt, because of other things going on. Um, but Jen, do you have a favorite episode from this year that you've listened to? That's right. You
Um,
said moving violations, right?
yeah, that one was my favorite. I love that movie.
Yes. That movie, I do. I grew up watching it. I've always had a blast. Now I did my best because there's a lot of movies on here that I've seen and I grew up with, and I'm gonna basically have a biased opinion on a lot of these. Um, so if I've watched it more than 3 times, it was not included on any list. Again, because of my affinity or my bias towards certain movies, like Moving Violations, like Rocky Horror Picture Show, uh, aka our lost episode, um, like Body Slam and things like that.
Okay.
So like I said, it just to me, it just felt like like your what do you call it? What's I'm trying to see on here? Moving Violations, Class of Nukem High. I don't think know if I put that on any of these lists because I've seen that so many times. Uh, and Madhouse. That's another one I've seen a bunch of times. But for our first category, let me take a. Excuse me. Our first category is going to be worst death scene on the show. So again, these are movies that I haven't seen a bunch of times, and that either the death didn't make sense or it was just so dumb or lackluster.
Okay.
So no, starting at each list has five. Has five in it. Number one will basically be the one who wins the award. So starting at number 5, we go to Halloween, our Halloween episode where I did the horror movie shorts. Um, there was one in there where the movie, like the short itself, was actually good and entertaining. It was like a 5-minute short, but the death was kind of dumb. But coming in at number 5, Mickey Mouse Halloween from the Halloween episode of Horror Movie Shorts, the drowning of the girl dressed like Minnie Mouse at the end. Um, so he basically just shoves her face into a the what do you call it, like the bucket or the basket she was bobbing for apples in by
Yes.
herself, and um it literally takes all of 20 seconds for her to die.
Yeah, that one made no sense.
No, like I wish they would have done a much better kill. They actually made a sequel. Like there's a second Mickey Mouse Halloween out there, or at least a Mickey Mouse horror movie that the same people made. And again, the death in it is just lackluster. No, it's all of nothing. So that's gonna be number 5 for me. Um, Number 4 is a recent one. Psycho Santa. Did you ever get around to watching that one?
No, not yet.
I wouldn't waste my. But the death of Chris slash Santa is going to come in at number 4. Because literally it was just the dad standing in there he has the gas can on him, hasn't poured any gas, hasn't put any gas on Chris or or Psycho Santa, whatever you want to call him, but just lights a match and drops it, and the whole place goes up in flames. How now I know that it's the fumes from the gas that ignites, but the way and how fast this fire was supposed to engulf the house, there's just no way.
Physics say no.
Yeah, there's just no way it could have happened like that. So that's why that one comes in at number 4. Number 3 for worst death scene is going to be Dracula's death in Sharkula. This was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. And the movie itself just wasn't good. I know you guys just did an entire series on Amityville movies.
Yes, we did. All 14 episodes.
Oof.
For the better part of 12 of them sucked horribly.
I think most of them do. Um, I'll have to discuss my feelings on the Amityville horror, like the real life Amityville horror, on a later episode, because at the end of the day, I'll hit spoiler alert. I don't believe it. But in Dracula, like Dracula is kind of like the same style filmmaking they do there. Like the Polonia brothers are definitely very low budget, what I call convention style movies, where if you go to horror movie conventions, at least some of the ones I did back in the day, there was always somebody standing out there handing out movies that them and their buddies made, and they just want people to watch it. So like, here, watch my movie, watch my movie. This reminds me of one of those. This whole movie did. And Dracula's death is basically Mina is distracting him because apparently she has some kind of psychic hold on him because he's in love with her. And again, this is supposed to be modern day, by the way, not the 1800s Victorian era England, where the original Dracula is supposed to take place.
Yes.
This is modern day. So Mina is distracting him, and the other guy basically takes a cross, puts it on his forehead, and that kills him. Like he just like gone. And there was a lot of other dumb deaths in this movie, but I still put Dracula's death as the worst in that movie.
Okay.
Did you ever get around to watching Sharkula?
No, I haven't watched
Yeah,
that one yet either.
yeah. That's the one where the guy that plays Renfield was in my chat most of the movie, and I was just he's gonna be happy with me.
No.
Coming in at number 2, the runner up would be Clayton, the murdering tree from the Killing Tree. He's basically the villain from the movie, and yeah, he gets into a fight with another tree, another Christmas tree, and again, they're in the air. The special effect. This is made by the same guy who made Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Okay.
He's also made. He's basically got a whole universe, like a Marvel style universe. He's making with Disney care with what do you call it? God, what do you call it now? Like the Night of the Living Dead, like free. Basically, ones you're legally allowed to use now because they don't have the copyright on them anymore. And he's making an entire universe that's going to eventually end up in an Avengers style horror movie with all these characters. But the graphics were fine and everything, but the two trees, they basically jump in the air, vines come out and they grab each other and they spin around and they're literally just going, take that. No, you take that. And then they just kind of explode and burn. Like
That makes no sense at all.
it doesn't, and it's one of them. And Killing Tree was one of the movies where I was very loud, especially in watching it. I was very loudly screaming and cussing and yelling at the movie because of how dumb it was. And I'll get, there might be other lists that this is on. So, but moving on, the number one and the winner of the worst death scene for 2024 on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast is Anyone in Amityville Thanksgiving.
Yes, I agree.
And can you tell me why you would think why any death in Amityville Thanksgiving when's the worst death scene? Did you watch that one?
I watched that one, and the problem is you're asking me to pick the worst.
No. All of
And
them. No,
all of
all of
them,
them.
because I'm
All of
just
them are the
like,
worst.
because I'm like, I can't pick the worst, so I'm gonna go with all. The number
Yes.
all, because
Yes.
yeah,
No. Yes. All of them is the winner. And
yeah,
the reason
number
is, and
all.
the reason you can't pick one is because there are none. There is one death on camera. Every other death in this movie, the doctor Frank, he goes and kills somebody, and then it turns around and goes to him filming his little like vlog or whatever, and he tells you how he killed them. We don't get to see how he killed them. He just tells you, "Hey, I killed him. I smashed his fucking head in." Okay, can we see it? No. So that is why Amityville thinks all the deaths, except for the one we do get to see in Amityville Thanksgiving, is the worst death scene on the Bloody Biz Movie Podcast in 2024. So congratulations, Amityville Thanksgiving. You get your first award. uh, so moving on. Now, these are not all going to be worst or whatever. There's a couple of best ones on here. But the next one we're going to move on to is another worst of one. Worst scene. And I'm not just talking about like death scene or anything like that. I'm just scene in general.
All
So
right.
coming in at number 5 is a recent one. Krampus Unleashed. Emily, and this is one of the ones I again was cussing. And I was yelling at this scene in the movie because it pissed me off. Emily, I think her name was Emily. But basically, I think her name was Bianca. Uh, nope, it was Emily. Emily pretending to not believe Cooper as he tells her about Krampus after she has seen Krampus kill she's seen the being. She's seen the beast. She watched him kill her boyfriend. She watched him kill one of the kids' dads. He's been chasing her. She shot Krampus. But when they get to Cooper's house and he's telling them the story about Krampus and why they should be scared and everything, she looks at him and goes, "Krampus? Are you fucking serious? Are you really? I don't believe you. I've never. I don't think it's Krampus. Like, bitch, you saw him. Did you get around to Krampus Unleashed?
No, if it's not a kid show, odds are I haven't seen it
No, yeah, it's not a
in the
kid show.
last like 3 months.
Nah, I get it. Nah, that's definitely not a kid show. But yeah, like they're in this trailer and he's telling them like, yeah, I've seen Krampus before. I've met Krampus. I fought Krampus, and Krampus is chasing her. And she's like, bullshit. It's like, no, you've literally watched Krampus. You've seen the monster kill your boyfriend in the hot tub, kill this kid's father, like right in front of you. You've been running from him. You know he's chasing you. You shot him, but you don't believe it. You don't believe it's him.
What does she think is in the? Does she think it's a costume?
No, she just doesn't think it's him. She thinks it's some kind of wild animal or something like that. And it's like, no, you've seen Krampus. You looked him dead in the eye.
Alrighty then.
So moving to number 4. This is actually from a movie that I liked. One of our earlier episodes. From Babysitter Massacre, Bianca saving herself and not her friend, even though her friend was not fully blown on fire. This chick could have helped her friend. The entire movie, she has this guilt that she went trick or treating with this girl who got kidnapped and murdered. And the whole movie, and she's not even like the final girl, the main character or anything. She's like one of the side characters, but she's dealing with this guilt the entire movie that she was not able to do anything. So we get to the end of the movie. The killer is setting him and one of her best friends on fire. Hasn't set him on fire yet, and she's standing there screaming, "No, no," crying and everything. And as the viewer, you're just looking, going, grab her leg, pull her to safety. But no, she slams the door and runs away, leaving her friend to burn.
Seriously, what?
Yes. And the thing is, I know the guy. I've met the guy. I've talked to. I've hung out with the guy who wrote and directed this movie, and I don't know what he was thinking. Like, this movie was, made here in Dayton, and I don't know what he was thinking with that final scene. It's like, maybe if she was already on fire, or the fire was blazing, I'd be a little more understanding. But she could clearly save the girl, and doesn't. So that is why that Bianca's not saving her friend will come in at number 4 for the worst scene in 2024 on Bloody Binge Movie Podcast.
Alrighty.
Moving on, Psycho Santa appears on our list again because they have a scene. One of the Psycho Santa is supposed to be like a continuous horror movie, but it kind of feels like an anthology because it tells different stories of how Chris went around and killed people. So they get to the final group, and it's his brother and sister who are for some reason driving like 6 hours to go find a Christmas tree because apparently there's no Christmas tree lots in their town. And their car breaks down, and I swear to God, the scene lasts 12 minutes of them just walking. Like, it's literally a 12-minute scene of 2 people walking through the woods.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not even exaggerating that. It's 12 minutes. Like, they eventually get the Psycho Santa coming out on them and stuff like that, but it's them walking and walking and walking and walking, and it's the yeah. As I think, when I remember right, when I did my review of Psycho Santa, I literally said that movie could have been a 45-minute movie, but they drug everything out for so long. And instead of adding substance to the movie, they just, you know what, let's just drag this scene where they're walking in the woods. Let's just drag that on for a few minutes.
Add fluff.
Yeah. So, Psycho Santa and We're Walking, number 3. Coming in as the runner-up, number 2, every time Dr. Frank appears on screen describing the kills instead of just showing them in Amityville Thanksgiving. So, yes, those are the worst scenes. That whole movie, yeah. Those are the worst scenes. It annoys me so much that they didn't show any of those kills.
I agree.
Why make a horror movie if you're not going to show the kills? So we've already discussed it. Do you have anything else to say about that, or because
I've wondered that a few times on these medieval movies because a lot of them There's a whole lot of movies lately that are being made that they're not even showing the kills.
And the funny thing is you can at least show the blood. The blood is cheap. You can make blood. Like you can make blood at home.
Yes.
But
Find your
when
local porn actor. They'll
we
teach you.
we have better makeup at a haunted house on a low budget. On top of that, we don't have the great, we don't have the biggest budget at the dungeon, but we can do better with makeup than any of these people who are making these movies that are getting distributed nationally. And we can do makeup better than these people apparently.
Yes.
Like that,
I've
it doesn't
been
make. Go to a haunted house. Go to your local haunted house. Get a hire a makeup person from a haunted house. Let them do makeup for your movie. I promise you, a lot of these people doing makeup at a haunted house, that's their goal.
dude, I can honestly say there's multiple people at Hell's Dungeon that could make a better movie than a lot of these we've seen lately.
Yeah. But finally, for worst scene, with no shock, anybody who's watched my episodes, the killing tree, the Christmas tree fight. Comes in
Yes.
second for worst death scene, but number one for the worst scene because that is the scene that I yelled at the most. Is the worst scene, like when, because I don't, because you said you didn't watch the killing tree, right?
No.
Yeah.
Do I
So
want
no. So when they go, basically he's about to kill the girl who turned him in and put him on death row. Because the whole purpose of the movie is this is kind of like a Child's Play style thing where his wife he possesses the spirit of a tree. His wife puts him there. It was supposed to be something else. He gets pissed off about it, all that good stuff. So near the end, the whole point of him coming back to life was to go after the girl that put him in prison and on death row because he killed her parents. So near the end, he's got her tied to a tree. He's doing his thing in that, and all of a sudden you see this big bright light, and he just turns around and goes, "Who the fuck are you?" And the tree starts talking, and the only thing I can say is I literally and out loud went, "Are you fucking kidding me? That had better not be her parents." And the other tree was her parents.
okay. I would have
And
done the same.
yeah. And then they fly because there's no reason for it. Like they had to do a spell to put his body and his spirit in the tree. Who did a spell to put their souls in the tree?
Good
But then you get
question.
that whole big fight scene I described before where they're saying where it's him and a woman's voice going, "Take that. No, you take that." And I felt dumber after watching that scene. So congratulations, The Killing Tree, for having the worst scene on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast in 2024. So far, for the worst death, we have anyone in Amityville Thanksgiving. That is the worst death scene on the show this year. And the absolute worst scene on the show this year was Christmas Tree Fight in The Killing Tree. So moving on, we have three more. We have three more awards to give out. I would have done more if I had time, but I think five is enough for this year, for our first year. Best killer slash villain on the show in 2024. Um, Again, this could have been to any genre, not just horror. We do every genre here on the show, on the Bloody Binge. Just our biggest focus is, of course, on horror. But coming in at number 5, we have Art the Clown from All Hallows Eve. Now, there's a reason he comes in at number 5 and not number 1. I am a big fan of Art the Clown. But this isn't David Howard Thornton's Art the Clown. This is an entirely different guy playing Art the Clown, who did a great job, don't get me wrong, but he's not David Howard Thornton. but it was still a very enjoyable character. Did you watch All Hallows Eve?
No.
Have you watched any of the Terrifier movies?
No.
Yeah, if you're not a fan of gore, I don't suggest it. Um, Even when I did my review of Terrifier 3 on here, I strongly suggested to everybody who was listening, do not let your kids see that movie. But yes, Art the Clown from All Hallows Eve is number 5. Coming in at number 4, Zombie Sushi / Yamada from Dead Sushi. I loved that. I really did enjoy Dead Sushi. The zombies, the sushi flying through the air and killing people, ripping their throats out and stuff. And then Yamada was the guy who actually brought the shrimp to life, or the sushi to life. I mean, where
This
else are we
one
gonna
sounds fun.
go ahead? I'm sorry.
This one sounds so fun.
It is a very fun movie. It is a Japanese horror movie. You will have to have the captions turned on, but it is such a fun, just funny movie. I was laughing a lot in it. This actually for this show, this would have been the second time I'd ever watched it, and I had so much fun watching it. So yes, number 4, Zombie Sushi / Yamada. I'm giving them both because they were both villains in the movie and they're both fun. Yamada ends up turning into this like giant fish at the end, and starts like a big kung fu sword fight with people, and yeah, it was great. Moving to number 3, The Trickster from Brain Scan. Now, the Trickster, this is why I put best killer / villain. The Trickster never actually killed anyone. He got other people to do this killing for him via the video game and that. And Brain Scan was, again, it's one of those ones I didn't really break rules because I haven't seen it. I think it was like a minimum of 5 is what I made the comment. I've not seen it 5 times, but I've seen it a bunch. Um, and the Trickster to me was just such a fun character.
Oh, he was so fun. I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I remember having so many, especially this is when Edward Furlong, before he had his little downfall or whatever you want to call it. Kid from Terminator 2. Uh, just yeah, it was just a fun movie in general. I really enjoy Brain Scan. Moving on to number 2, the runner up from Die Influencers Die, a movie that shocked me because I enjoyed that movie a lot more than I thought I would. But from Die Influencers Die, Moxie / Otherworld Coyote. Moxie was. Did you get around to watching Die Influencers Die?
Not yet.
Okay. Moxie was basically a topless killer clown. Who was murdered. She was murdered and she's come back for revenge. That's the best way to describe her. Otherworld Coyote is this kind of like demon style character. Doesn't actually kill anybody or not, but he was such a fun character. Um, that I had to include him in it too. And Moxie, being Moxie, she was just she was vicious. Like, she was a vicious killer. So coming in as the runner-up, Moxie / Otherworld Coyote. So now for the 2024 best killer / villain, we go all the way back to the beginning of the show for, I want to say, episode 4 or 5, Chainsaw Sally. Chainsaw Sally, she had her own movie. They had a TV series about her. The April Monique Burrell, who plays Chainsaw Sally. Her husband was the director and everything. But Chainsaw Sally was just such a fun movie. When I watched it originally in 2000, like 7 or 8, maybe even 2006 when it first came out. We got it from a convention, and it's one of those movies where it's a low budget movie. The kills aren't necessarily like the greatest and that, but for what they were and for what the story was, it was so creative. Did you get around to watching Chainsaw Sally?
No.
Definitely one you may want to check out. It's like I said, it's one of the movies I've watched a bunch. Not the minimum amount or maximum amount of times I was allowed to put it on a list, but yes. So Chainsaw Sally will be the best killer slash villain for 2024 here on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. Only have two more left, and we'll take our break. Best movie of 2024. Best movie, best episode, whatever however you want to call it. Coming in at number 5, I put down basically the Hollywood movie shorts or the Halloween movie shorts uh, from Halloween, the horror movie shorts from our Halloween episode because I had a fun time doing that episode. Um, Not necessarily the biggest fan of horror movie shorts, but finding these, watching these between Trauma and YouTube was a lot of this. It was just a lot of fun. Did you get a chance to watch any of those Halloween shorts?
Not yet. I'm a
There-
horrible side host. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, no. I trust me. The fun thing is actually getting to talk to people, about movies they haven't seen and stuff like that. I'm I think I'm very good about not ruining movies, except for the podcast itself when I go play by play. But like when we have Matt, when we do the the shows, especially when we did our hardcore heels, um, when we go back to wrestling that me and Raz have both seen, we grew up watching and that, and then getting to tell Matt, hey, back in the '90s, this is what wrestling was like, or back in the '80s, this is what wrestling was like. So, but number 5, the Halloween horror movie shorts, coming in at number 4. Let me see, I ain't even looking away. Okay, coming in at number 4, Babysitter Massacre. We talked about that a little bit ago, where it did win come in number 4. Actually, both lists it comes in number 4 for worst scene, but all in all, the movie itself is actually pretty good. Um, it's a horror movie, so you get the right amount of blood, you get the right amount of boobs, and everything else. So, but it's fun. It's your typical, how you would like your sleepover massacre, your sorority house massacres and stuff like that, where the women for no reason whatsoever decide to go take their tops off or go put on lingerie or anything, and there's a killer running around killing them and everything. Then it was at the end of the day, it was actually a fun movie. Um, no bias because it was filmed and shown locally, and that I do know the director. Um, but yeah, number 4, Babysitter Massacre. Coming in at number 3, a movie that when I first watched it, I didn't care for it. But when I watched it for the show, I actually really enjoyed it. So coming in at number 3, Fun House Massacre, starring Robert England and a bunch of others. If you've ever watched Married with Children, Bob Rooney is in it. Did you get around to watching Fun House Massacre?
The thing is, I know I've seen it, but I don't remember a lot about it.
Yeah, like when I watched it for the second time, it's like, oh, I don't remember this. I don't remember this. I know I've seen the movie, but I don't remember it. Um, Again, filmed locally. It was actually filmed down in Middletown, Ohio, at Land of Illusion. Um, and it was a very fun movie. Set in a haunted house. Exactly what you would think. Clint Howard's in it. He plays a part in it. Again, the guy from Married Children that played Bob Rooney, and just a lot of bigger names like Robert England is in it. Makes an appearance, but definitely a much more fun movie than I thought I remember it being. So now we get the runner-up to best movie of 2024, and that's got to go to Dead Sushi. It was a hard choice between these two movies, but Dead Sushi will come in second. Again, as we just talked about, just a fun movie to watch. Silliness, campiness. And Japanese horror is actually really, really good. Um, especially
I
these
agree.
style movies. Yeah, especially these style movies where it's just silliness. And finally, to me, the best movie that we covered on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast of 2024 will go to Die Influencers Die. Again, that movie came out of nowhere. It had no right to be as good as it was. A lot of gore, a lot of great kills, and just like I said, fun to watch. But that's gonna do it for that one for the best movie of 2024 on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. Die Influencers Die. And finally, we come to our number one award, the worst movie of 2024. Coming in at number 5, we're going to go straight to Psycho Santa. So it wasn't necessarily the worst. I'm not gonna, like I said, that's why it's not at the top. It's not the worst movie I've seen or the worst movie I watched this year. It had some moments, but the walking scene and the kills were just so dumb that it needed to be on this list. Coming in at number 4, and the first appearance on any of these lists, Rollerblade. Uh, I gotta ask again, Friday, did you watch Rollerblade?
Yes.
Did you agree it was?
I
Did you agree? Go ahead.
I it's not the one I would have put on this list, no.
You wouldn't put in a worst movie?
Well, not on the worst for me, but then again,
No, I mean, it's fine. Yeah. I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue anyone's lists or debate
oh,
anyone's
I
list.
know.
Yeah, everybody has their own. I mean, to me, it just nothing happens for a good portion of the movie. I'm also not the biggest sci-fi fan, so that could have something to do with it too. Um, but the silliness of the whole rollerblading nuns fighting this slime monster, and yeah. So to me, like I said, that's why it's near the bottom, because again, it wasn't a movie that I absolutely hated, but it was one of those movies where I was just bored when I was doing it. Um, but
Understandable.
but coming in at number 3, Sharkula. Again, it had its moments, and I'm not gonna hold anything back, from campiness or cheesiness. I do love me, as I said, what I call earlier the convention movies. That's what this was. But this one was just bad. It was just bad all around. Um, the graphics, the CGI was terrible. The kills were non-existent, really, because like when the shark jumps out of the water to bite your head off, it's a CGI kill, which to me takes away everything from the kill. I give me my practical effects. But finally, coming at the runner-up to worst movie on the show on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast of 2024, we're gonna go with Killing Tree. Because coming in at number 1, the absolute worst movie we watched on this show in 2024. Can you guess it, Friday?
A medieval Thanksgiving?
How did you guess? Amityville Thanksgiving is the absolute worst movie we've watched this year.
That's on the top of my list too.
Yeah, and as it should be. Nothing happens. It is a movie where you're watching these two people. The guy is trying so hard to do The Sopranos. She's trying to do Jersey Shore. They're both my age and shouldn't be doing either one of those. I mean, Sopranos maybe, but you're not Jersey Shore in your 40s. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Um, and actually they could even be in their 50s for all I know. They weren't young. The doctor no kills in the movie. The doctor just basically going, yeah, he knew too much. I killed him. The husband, he was fucking useless. I killed him. The wife, she got pregnant, gave me a girl. I killed her. And just filming the vlog. So congratulations, Amityville Thanksgiving, for being the worst movie of 2024. So just a quick recap, and then we'll hit our commercial break real quick. The worst death scene of 2024 is anyone in Amityville Thanksgiving. The worst scene on Bloody Binge Movie Podcast in 2024 is the Christmas tree fight on the Killing Tree. Best killer / villain, Chainsaw Sally. Best movie of 2024, Die Influencers Die, and of course the worst movie of 2024, Amityville Thanksgiving. So that's going to wrap up that part of the show. We're going to take our quick break. Run a couple of ads, and when we come back Friday, we are going to deep dive Shredder.
Sounds awesome. Can't wait.
We'll see you in a couple minutes, guys.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite seems trying to say is that on Retro Redoctopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Octopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. Again, I am your host, Sewer Dweller, being joined this week by Friday.
I'm so happy to be here.
And this week, we are going all the way back to the turn of the millennium as we deep dive snowboarding movie Shredder. So we'll get to the reviews at the very end of the movie after we go through everything. So this movie, like I said, was released in 2001, directed by a guy named Greg Hewson. Again, and as I say, Friday, bear with me too. I'm bad at names and pronouncing names, so I do apologize if I say someone's name wrong. But looking at this guy, he does more editing than anything else, and if the editing from this movie is any key on what he's ever done before, he's not a very good editor. Director wise, he's only got 9, and there's really nothing major on here. Nothing I've even really, most of it is like TV shorts. But this would be like maybe his most well-known movie that he's directed. Was written by, again, Greg Hewson and a guy named Craig Donald Carlson. Nothing else. He's done nothing else besides write this movie. But now we're gonna get to an I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something, Jenny, or Friday?
No, it just sometimes looks like I'm gonna say something, but I'm just breathing, and I'm sinusy.
Oh no, you're
breathing loud.
You're good. Sometimes, like with me and Raz, there's like a there's almost when we're talking together on a show or something. There's almost like a delay. So I don't want to be like I don't want to like accidentally talk over people.
I appreciate that because it felt like there was a pause, so I tried to say something and then you started talking again. And
Yeah.
I've talked over you a couple times, and that was not my intention this episode.
Yeah, no. If you got something to say, go ahead and say it. Like I said, I think there might be a delay, and like because like how Raz with Matt and Monsters, he wants us to say, and we're the monsters together, and I kept trying to tell him, I was like, I think there's a delay or something. But so we're gonna go to the cast. Scott Weinger. I'm sorry, they haven't even have it pronounced on IMDb. In a lot more than you would think he was in. For being in this movie. Do you know anything about Scott Weinger?
No, I don't remember seeing him before, and I love looking into what actors do and actresses do.
You're gonna kick yourself in the butt because he was on Full House.
He was the boyfriend at some point then, wasn't it?
He was DJ's boyfriend. But that isn't even the biggest thing he's done. This guy's the voice of Aladdin from Disney's Aladdin.
So I see his face a whole lot lately, and I hear his voice way too many times. It has got me desensitized to this man. Gotcha.
Yeah, he is apparently the original voice of Aladdin in the movies and the video games, and he still does the voice of Aladdin. Got his start in 1988 with Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach. He's the kid, I don't know if you ever seen Police Academy 5. He's the kid who was on this boogie board, I guess, when the shark was coming up to the beach and Tackleberry puts the gun on his nose.
Okay.
That was him. Went on for Hemingway, Life Goes On, Erie, Indiana, and again after that it was Aladdin from 1992 on. Was the voice of, I guess, Wilby Joseph Daniels, the Shaggy Dog. Of course, the DJ's boyfriend in Full House. Did make a return in Fuller House. Again, most of
Erie, Indiana.
Yeah, he was in Erie, Indiana. Who was he? Played Eddie in one episode. And just does a lot of voice work. Shredder, of course, he was in this movie. He plays Cole Davidson. And then everything else is Aladdin, Aladdin, Aladdin. Farce of the Penguins, he did a voice. Scrubs, he was on one episode of Scrubs. Like, he might be the biggest star in this movie. But moving on to the next, we have Lindsay McKeon, who plays, I believe she is Kimberly. Y'all are going to love Kimberly. She was such a great, great person. Um, got her start Boy Meets World on 2 episodes. Saved by the Bell, the new class. She played a regular. She was a regular on that. 1 episode of Third Rock from the Sun. Just a lot of like 1 episodes here and there on TV shows and that. Nothing too major. A lot more horror movies and a Christmas movie recently called Charlie's Christmas Wish. Um, other than that, we have Billy O or Billy O'Sullivan who plays Skylar. Uh, hasn't done anything since 2006. Really hasn't done much. Trying to go back. He was in Time Cop, the TV series, for 1 episode. Uh, that's really it. I mean, he was in Highway to Heaven for 1 episode. The Van Dyke Show, Empty Nest, again is 1 episodes. Who's the Ball? He was in all these, classic 80s and 90s TV shows for 1 episode. Got all the way to the 2000s. Did Shredder, did like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more things, and that was it.
Okay.
Kristoff, played by Brad Hawkins. Let's see what he's done. He's done a lot more. Goblin Slayer, an anime. He plays the Goblin Slayer. 19 episodes of My Hero Academia. I don't know how big of an anime fan you are, Friday.
I own all of My Hero Academia because of my child.
My son, my youngest, loves anime. I have never been able to get into it, and I know I'm gonna butcher this person's name. But he does the voice of Shikui Makabe.
Okay.
The English version, that is.
Yes.
My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, does Dirk. He does a lot of voices on anime from the looks of it. So that's what his calling was do anime voices. Which he did a pretty good foreign accent in this movie as Kristoff. It was in Guitar Hero 5. He did a voice on Guitar Hero 5. But yeah, again, did a lot of 1 episodes here and there on like Jag and Crossing Jordan, NCIS, Monk. Never anything too major until you get to 2007 to 2009, where he did a voice of Howling Star on Dragonaut: The Resonance. That's when he started his anime career. So I think that's enough for that's going to be enough for the cast and crew, because we got a movie to get into, and we have been going for an hour and a half so far. So let's get into it. We're gonna deep dive Shredder. Friday, again, jump in whenever you want. Whenever you have something to say about a scene or something like that, feel free. If you start talking, and I hear it, I'll just stop. This way, it'll hopefully combat the delay or
I
something
should
that we
always
have.
put well, with you reading, it's kind of hard to do the thing where we put the exclamation mark in the private chat.
I can do that. I can bring the private chat up real quick and move my notes over here, and then I can still see it. All right. So the movie opens on a wintry mountaintop. We can see we see the opening credits, and as it's playing, we're getting different shots of the mountain, and some snowboarders and things like that. But we see the snowboarders, and all of a sudden there is this skier right behind them. Now, we can just guess that the skier is chasing the snowboarder just based on the premise of the movie. They don't give you any indication of what's going on, though. We have to guess that the skier is chasing the snowboarder. And they're going down the mountainside. They're doing the whole snowboarding, snow skiing thing. I'm not a skier or snowboarder. I'm not even a fan of winter weather. So yeah, the snowboarder's looking behind him and he doesn't see the skier at all. Turns his head back to the front, and when he does, it goes somehow the skier got in front of him and has this branch that he pulls taut, and there's a wire tied to it, and then tied to something else, and it ends up clotheslining the skier and beheads him. Go ahead, Freddie.
I love that death scene. That was like one of my most favorite throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, that was a gnarly scene. The the graphicness of it. He loses his fingers and his neck. Because he puts his hand up to stop it. It almost reminds me of what I to me I say is the greatest beginning of a horror movie ever is the Ghost Ship. Uh,
Yes.
where they're all dancing and that wire just comes up and like decapitates everybody on the boat. That is to me one of the greatest opening scenes to a horror movie. And this reminds me a lot of that. And it was
Me
great.
too. I agree. That's exactly what I was thinking when I saw it.
Yes, because they did that. That's just so good. Let's see. Da-da-da-da-da. Pulls the wire. Da-da. Then the skier holds up a pamphlet that says skier's responsibility written on it. And there's 3 rules that they show. 1, always ski in control. Be able to avoid other people or objects. 2, do not disembark from the chairlift except at a designated area. And 3, observe all posted signs and warnings. Keep off trails and out of closed areas. Something tells me that that's going to come up later. We never really get to see the skier past the snowboarder, like basically what I said a minute ago. We didn't get to see him go past him or anything. It's like he just appeared down there. Um, and he had enough time to grab the branch with the wire and to pull it taut and kill him. The skier walks over to the dead snowboarder and takes the pamphlet out of the snowboarder's hands. I thought it was in the skier's hands, but it was in the snowboarder's. And then we get a great shot of the beheaded, not entirely, snowboarder as the skier walks away. And the only thing I thought it was like, that's nearly headless Nick from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And we get the title graphic, Shredder. And I wrote down, this is a great opening, very gory, direct to the point. It didn't beat around the bush and it didn't drag on. So, what'd you think of the opening, Friday?
I love the opening. It gave me hope that this movie might actually be very good.
It did, especially with the graphicness. I'm not used to that on this show for the past couple of weeks. It's been a rough month. And we immediately cut to a very attractive blonde woman hopping in the shower. She starts the shower, hops in, and I will say they do their damnedest to make sure you do not see this woman naked. Like they are doing everything. They are literally panning down just above, the nipple or just above, her crotch area and everything like that. And it's just funny to me that it's like we're going to pan down. You see? Nope, we're going to cut to something else. Uh, as she's showering, we cut to the bedroom where we hear someone breathing and we see her things on the bed like she's packing, obviously. Cut back to the shower and she's getting her hair wet. Back to the room again, creepy breathing and the first person walking. We did again. This is when I wrote it down. We go back to the shower and we get shots of her torso and her upper thighs and the belly, but no nudity. Which again makes me laugh because it's like they're teasing this so much. Finally, the breathing person enters the bathroom, rips back the shower curtain psycho style, and scares the hell out of her, and she starts beating the shit out of him.
That
And I
poor
wrote,
Rose.
yeah. And I wrote down that the filmmakers did a good job of not showing any nudity in this shower scene, thus defeating the entire purpose of a shower scene. In the bedroom, Cole tries to give her the rose, and I wrote down that the editing is horrendous for this scene is horrendous because they're kind of just standing there. You know, it's not like they said action, gave it a second to be doing something, and then work into the scene, but they're just freaking standing there like waiting to be told to go. Um, she tells him to save his energy for the mountains, and she's basically teasing him and leading him on about sex. And Cole starts to talk about the romantic getaway they had planned, and then she does the whole yeah about that shtick. And now we cut to Cole driving her and two other couples on the trip with them, and Cole looks a little pissed. Which I don't blame the man. You know, he was supposed to be going on a romantic trip with his girlfriend, and now there's like four other people involved. We do learn later too that these are not couples. Um, she's on her phone. She said another person didn't RSVP. And Cole says, well, too bad. There's still room for one more in the luggage rack. And the other females in the car kind of tease him a little bit, calling him a grumpy bunny. One of the males. What's that? Sorry.
Has every right to be.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'd be pissed off. I'd be a little pissed off, too. It's like, I have this whole weekend planned with my girlfriend to go spend a romantic weekend at a lodge. And now you're just going to invite four other people? One of the males has a camcorder. This is Skylar. And he's doing that annoying fake documentary stuff. But this is a good way. This is something I complain about on the show a lot is that they never want to tell us the names of the characters. But this is a really good way for them to do so. First, we meet Kirk Armstrong. Apparently, he is a champion snowboarder. I'm sorry. Almost in the Olympics. We meet Pike, a one of the females. She didn't really say anything about this, I guess, till later in the movie, but she is actually Kimberly's cousin. She has short hair, and spoiler alert, she is the, I guess, butt of the joke most of the movie that she's a lesbian. Because she has short hair and because her name is Pike. And then we go up front where we see Robin and Cole's girlfriend, Kimberly Van Arks. Skylar calls her beautiful, sexy, and rich as she mugs for the camera. But we can tell that Cole is really starting to get annoyed. Skylar asks Kimberly how a college co-ed becomes the owner of a private ski resort. She says, well, it's not exactly private, but more along the lines of closed. They're just go up and check it out because her daddy's company is going to develop 20 kajillion vertical feet of virgin powder. She sounds like an idiot saying powder. The snowboarding terms from people who genuinely aren't snowboarders, it does kind of get annoying, and we're only 7 minutes into the movie. They're saying, hey, we're going to go shredding. We're, on the powder. But please stop. And also at this point, notice that the sound is off. That it's basically kind of obvious they recorded the lines later and added it in over it because you can't hear the engine, you can't hear the wind going by out, nothing. And their voices are a lot deeper or a lot more like amplified kind of than they really should be. And it's just very unnatural. They joke around a little more as Robin goes to slaps Skylar, and when she slaps him, she spills coffee on herself. And now it's time to pull over at one of the most horror movie trope gas stations known to man. Like, it's one of those gas stations where if you've seen a horror movie before, you've seen this gas station. So Robin takes her sweater off. For some reason, she takes off like as she gets out. So she's running in the snow in her bra to the bathroom, which anyone who's ever been to a gas station on the side of the road like this, you know damn well there's not a heater in that bathroom. That bathroom is going to be freezing. So Skylar, the guy with the camera, I wrote that down because I thought originally he was Pike, but no, he is Skylar, and the quote unquote lesbian girl is Pike. He begs Pike to take the camera into the bathroom with her, and she pretty much tells him there's no chance that she's gonna film herself peeing as she takes the camera into the women's bathroom with her. Skylar says, basically he tells the other guys Pike will be his, and Kirk's like, nah, she's a dyke. He calls her, like, Kirk literally calls her Pike the Dyke. And even I'm offended at this point. In the bathroom, the girls, they're messing around. They can't get, Robin can't get her sweater clean, and they start messing around, and they're teasing the camera. They're teasing, Skylar through the camera with like girl on girl action and secrets of the ladies' room. And then Robin grabs her bra covered tits and tells Skylar it's the closest he will ever get to the real thing. Robin grabs the camera and tells Kimberly to do a striptease for Cole. Or is she still making him beg for it? Kimberly says basically, why would I stop making him beg when it's really nice to have my own little puppy dog? Pike is not impressed. And Kimberly says Cole isn't really her breed, and she may just have him neutered. She also admits that a guy named Chad is meeting them at the lodge, and that's who she plans to be sleeping with this weekend. The girls leave the women's room, and for some reason, there's just this random guy standing right outside the door. His name is Christoph. And for some reason, Pike seems to be the only person upset about this. As Robin starts flirting with them, and Kimberly kind of does, but it kind of doesn't at the same time. He tells them that in his country, men and women share a restroom, that they don't have separate restrooms. It's snowing, or I guess it's like the water's dripping down, and he tells Robin that she's getting wet, and she says, "Wait, you can tell that? Do you get it? Do you get the joke?"
Yes, I got
That's
the
a lame.
joke.
Yeah, that's a lame ass joke. And now we cut to the SUV. It's a Jeep Cherokee, just to give you guys a heads up. It's a red Jeep Cherokee. And Robin and Kimberly have decided to invite Christoph to come with them. Because that's what you do when you meet a stranger outside who's standing outside of the women's bathroom. Go ahead.
I am a very paranoid person. Bringing somebody I just met at a gas station that's straight out of a horror movie seems like one of the worst ideas in human history.
Are you trying to say that every horror movie ever starts like that? Every true crime story starts like that. But yes,
Being
I agree.
interesting is a bad idea.
I don't even like people I know coming over to my house, let alone strangers I don't know getting in my car.
That is why I asked your permission to come on a show, not just assume your privacy is your privacy. Even digitally, I respect your privacy.
Oh no, you guys are welcome on the show anytime you wanna come on. I have no
Yes.
problem with that. In my
I
house,
mean,
like over the weekend when my brother come in for Christmas, I didn't feel comfortable with that.
I
I don't like
understand.
a lot of people in my
And
house.
no, I mean asking you to come on our
Yeah.
show.
Oh yeah,
I
I don't mind.
Cool, because I'm looking forward to the 15th.
Yes. For those who don't know, I believe it's the Chainers, right? Is what I'm
Yes.
appearing on. I will be on Chainers Haunted Secrets on January 15th.
I'm so happy.
I'm looking forward to it. So in the car, Robin tells Cole to hurry up and that he drives like her grandparents. And basically Cole's like, fuck no, this guy's not getting in the car. We don't have enough room, and two, we don't know this guy. But of course, he gets to go because he's kind of a cuck in this movie. He's kind of a cuck for Kimberly. Um, they go past as they're driving. They go past the snowplow, and it does have a bumper sticker that says "Death to Snowboarders" on it. They start yelling at the guy, because he's going slow, and they tell Cole to drive around him, and he's yelling at him, and Cole's trying to tell him to get back inside the car and stop yelling at him. But we're also going to ignore the fact that the entire time someone is laying on the horn as they pass this guy. So Cole is gonna so basically Cole's telling Skylar, get back in the car, stop egging this guy on, he's gonna fucking murder us. But apparently he's also blowing the horn.
Yes.
We get some more shots of the group. They're just driving up the mountain. We then get Robin telling us about the resort from a book she's reading, I guess from a pamphlet or something, as they pull up to the gates of the resort, but they're chain locked. Uh, from the book, it says operated by Olympics champion skier Buddy Williams, his wife, and two daughters. Rocky Summit is one of the last family-owned ski resorts in North America. And then we notice that Robin is now sitting on Kristoff's lap instead of Kimberly's because she was sitting on Kimberly's lap earlier. We see Colt. He's trying to get the gates open. Again, the chain is kind of rusted and it's not budging. Kimberly tells everyone that they haven't exactly. Basically, she tells everybody else except for Cole that they haven't exactly bought the resort yet. Um, so basically, her family has not bought the resort. They don't own the resort. They are trespassing. But apparently, I guess her dad is in the process of buying it. It's just not official yet. We can see the bottom of the mountain. There is no snow. Like it's brown as hell. It's mud. Kirk decides to get out, grab his snowboard, and says local boarders only. And he just goes right underneath and heads on in and starts snowboarding. And now Robin hops out. And she removes even more clothing as she removes the shorts that were over her leggings and hands them to Kristoff. Everyone hops out, grabs their things except for Kimberly, who just basically sits in the car and files her nails as Cole is trying to bust the lock on this gate. And it just goes back to different, shots of them snowboarding, and then back to Cole trying to bust the gate different ways, and Kimberly filing her nails. And then Kristoff starts to have some kind of a flashback, and he veers off course into the woods. He ends up crashing. Robin comes to check on him. He's fine. Moving on, Uh, more random montage stuff as we see the evil snowboarder watching or show up to start watching the group. The montage ends with Cole driving past to the cabin, blowing his horn, letting everybody know that, hey, we got in. Let's go to the cabin. Well, it's more of a lodge than a cabin, I guess you could say. We get to the cabin, and it's clear by the footprints in the snow that somebody was already there. They don't point this out or anything. They completely ignore it. It's like, but no, there's fucking footprints in the snow. Don't go in that room. So we're gonna go in the room, of course. Cole goes to start a fire. Um, Before we cut to the outside to the men cleaning out the Jeep, Skyler is talking about how he saw a female skiing towards him while he was peeing. And I remember this. I remember the scene. I forgot to write it down. But as Skyler's using the bathroom, he looks over and there's this girl in this female skier in like kind of like a light blue outfit skiing down the mountain. And then we get some more conversation about how Kirk is on the verge of qualifying for the Olympics, but there's only one guy that stands in his way: Chad Charnley. And Kimberly appears behind them and asks if they've seen him because his stuff is there, but he must still be out boarding. All three males get a little annoyed with her because guess what she didn't do? Tell anybody. Slowly but surely, Kimberly is really starting to show us that she is quite possibly the worst friend of all time.
I agree. I don't like her at all.
Like, she even makes the comment to Kirk, it's like, well, you did come into second place behind somebody. Like, yeah, go fuck yourself, blonde bitch. Yeah, she's not a likable person at all. Skylar starts to make the comment that someone needs to go on a beer run, and Kimberly basically just looks at her man and goes, "Oh yeah, you're going on the beer run, and by the way, pick up some food on the way back." Okay, I didn't really want to go, but again, let me remind you, this is his weekend with Kimberly. They were supposed to be alone. Now he's getting sent on errands while she gets to stay at home in the warmth with random new guy over here. Yeah, again, I'd be a little annoyed.
Very.
Cole asks Kristoff if he wants to ride to town with him. And Kristoff says, no, I just want to have a look around and I'll keep the ladies warm. No, your ass is getting in the car and coming with me. We now cut to a bar in downtown where Cole's buying the beer and I guess in the food. They don't really mention where he buys food from or anything, but you got the beer there. The bartender asks if they're heading up to Rocky Summit. Well, that's the most random question ever. And he tells him that it's haunted up there. Weather changes every 5 minutes because of angry spirits. And it's pretty much just an awkward scene with Skylar filming and the bartender again basically just telling them not to go up there. He's not a very good what's his name? The old guy from Friday the 13th. I wanted to say Roy, but Roy's one of the Jasons. But it's the scene of don't go up there. It's haunted. You shouldn't go there. And of course, we don't listen to the guy. While he's filming, a cute blonde winks and blows a kiss at him, and Skylar thinks it's the woman from earlier. So they get into the Jeep, and then all of a sudden, a snowplow next to him. It's not really a snowplow. It's almost like a giant snowblower, because it has these blades that are just like spinning and, like I said, kind of like what a smaller snowblower would do, except more of a giant snowplow style truck. It's really hard to describe, but it looks awesome.
Very.
And it fires up and it scares the crap out of him because it's the guy from earlier, basically. I wrote that it was a decent jump scare, but and the scene ends with him doing nothing but looking mad and them speeding off. We go back to the cabin. The group is now playing quarters. Pike gets 2 in a row, and she says since she got 2 in a row, she gets to make the new rules, and her rules are no more drinking games. Everyone disagrees, and Robin, who still hasn't put a shirt on yet, by the way, says truth or drink. So that is the new game they're going to play. And even Cole's like, nah, I don't think we need to be doing any more drinking. The rules of the game say if the group doesn't like your answer, you drink. Kimberly volunteers to go first, and I don't know this. I don't know what the point of this was. Asks Pike if she's afraid to go to the underwear prison. I'm assuming that's what she said. My copy, I watched it on Tubi, and it didn't have closed captions like it normally does. But that's what it sounded like she said. So
Yeah.
Pike stands up. Were you gonna say something?
That's a new one to me too.
Yeah, I definitely didn't play this or witness anybody play this game when I was in high school. And the thing about it is when this movie came out, I wasn't out of high school for very long. Like, I think I was still in college, honestly. But Pike stands up and basically removes her bra without taking her shirt off. Not to be outdone, Kimberly stands up and removes her thong without taking her pants off. Skylar falls out of his chair because he can't handle all this, and then there's a banging at the door. It is the sheriff, and he wants to know why they are here and says he's going to have to take them all in. Kimberly says they aren't trespassing as she is Kimberly Van Arks of Van Arks Construction. And the sheriff says, "Hi, I'm the sheriff, as in you have the right to remain silent." And I like that line.
I did too.
I thought it got a chuckle out of me. So Robin decides now is the time to come over and start flirting with this old man. And the sheriff immediately starts falling for it. He says it isn't safe there. And now Kimberly jumps in and she starts flirting with him a little bit and says her daddy is buying the place. And hey, you know what? Why don't I go get my ID? So she walks over to her bags and she bends all the way over, kind of shaking her ass as she does. The sheriff is drooling at this point. The sheriff still says they can't stay there because of the murders and no matter who they are. He says that he has to run them all in or run them all off. Cole decides to hand him his ID and hands him about $100. This immediately breaks the sheriff and goes, okay, just, leave by morning. As he's saying this, Robin starts rubbing against him as, and he tells him they can stay the night, but he better not see them on the mount, on that hill, because they don't want snowboarders up here. And at the same time, he is literally grabbing Robin's ass as he's saying this. And they're kind of like shoving him out the door. He finally leaves, and Pike asks what Kimberly got them into. Kimberly goes into the backstory of the resort. She says 100 years ago, when snowboarding was starting to become a thing. By the way, that was 1965. Rocky Summit tried to ban snowboarding. It attracts the wrong element, and it's not safe. Then there was this egregious accident, and Cole reminds her the sheriff said murder. Kimberly says there was this little girl who was skiing by herself, and these snowboarders who were drunk as hell started harassing her, and it caused her to head straight for a tree. Basically, she gets veered off course, heads for the tree, smacks into the tree, and dies. Robin asks if she died, and Kimberly, being the bitch she is, says, "Well, duh." Pike asks what happened to the assholes who killed her, and Kimberly tells them they don't know, that they vanished before the police could arrest them. Kimberly says her daddy heard about the resort, and since the original owners had to close it down since they couldn't get insurance after the accident, her daddy is waiting to go through bankruptcy court so he can buy it. Cole gets mad, and rightfully so, because He's basically realizing that Kimberly tricked him into breaking into an abandoned ski resort, the site of possible murders, to check out her father's potential investment, while possible killers are still on the loose. Go ahead, Friday.
This woman, well, Twaffle, keeps getting worse and worse as you go through the movie. It's like, why? What could she have dangling to make people want to do this, including her friend?
And that's what I started asking myself. It's like, why is Cole such a cuck for this woman? Like, he's got the fucking keys. It's his car. Like, all right, you want to be a cunt? Fine, I'm leaving. That's simple. Like, she can't get back.
No.
Like, yeah, she. I agree with you. She is just a bad person. Kristoff says that they say the ghost of the little girl haunts the slopes, hoping for revenge. You know, that really doesn't come up again in the movie, which would have made a better reasoning, honestly, for, hey, don't go up there, it's haunted.
Yeah.
So Robin screams as she says she saw something outside the window at that very second. Like, literally within seconds of her going, hey, you know, they say that the slopes are haunted of this from this dead little girl. Robin screams because she and says she saw something at the window. Are you sure it wasn't your reflection? So Kimberly thinks it must be Chad. And now again, if I'm Cole, I'm looking at Kimberly at this point, going, "Hey, why are you so worried about this Chad guy?" Uh, Cole basically asks the guys, you know, go around the room, goes, "Kristoff, you want to come? Kirk, Skylar," and they're all like, "Nah, fuck that." I wrote down that they all pussied out.
Yeah.
So Cole goes outside, and then after a couple of seconds, Pike shows up behind him, and she joins him out there, and they kind of look around for a second, and they see a shed with a light on. Cole tells Pike that she has more balls than the rest of them, and she kind of gets annoyed by this. He tells her that it's always like you guys to take things the wrong way. And I'm like, you know, if this was 2024, he tells her that it's cool, baby. Her lifestyle is none of his business. And I just see him digging this hole.
Yeah.
And he keeps digging the hole deeper and says, hey, you know what? I like girls too, you know? And Pike basically asks him, did Kimberly tell you I was gay? And he says, no, but you know, Pike, Dyke. Because apparently that's what it takes. Hey, your name rhymes with the derogatory term for a lesbian. Are you sure you're not one? So Pike says Cole rhymes with asshole, and I think it dawns on him that this girl isn't gay. But they make up really quickly because they start sliding down the hill to the shed, and they're giggling and laughing and being flirty with each other. She hits a button, and all of a sudden, electricity comes on, like around the entire mountain. You know, lights on the slopes. The ski lift starts moving again. They get excited, and Pike says, "Tomorrow we shred in style." We cut to the now darkened lodge as Kristoff is sleeping on the couch by the fire. And he starts having, it kind of looks like he's having some more flashbacks in his dreams. And we just keep cutting around the room. Kirk and Skylar are sharing kind of like a sleeping bag. Robin and Pike are sharing a sleeping bag. Robin kind of reaches over and starts trying to seduce Robin starts trying to seduce Pike. Robin says she isn't gay, she's just horny. And Pike basically tells her to fuck off and that she isn't her type. We cut to Kimberly, who, of course, is in bed with Cole. She slips out of bed, puts some very, very sheer lingerie on, grabs a lantern, and she walks out of the room, presumably to go wake up Kristoff. She gets to the couch and he's not there. So Kimberly goes looking around the lodge for him, even to the point where she opens the door and looks outside in her underwear and then just closes the door back inside. And we pan over and we see the sheriff, who is hiding under kind of like the ramp to the lodge or the cabin. He goes to leave and evil skier is there. The sheriff asks him what he's doing there, and the skier basically stabs him in the head with an ice pick. Quick kill, but it's still a pretty good one, I think, at least.
I actually think he's the one that she saw in the window.
It's very possible, yes, because they really don't explain why he was still there. Back inside, Kimberly is now also looking for Kristoff, who is hiding in the kitchen. After she passes him by, Kimberly is still looking. I'm sorry, Kimberly is still looking for Kristoff, who is hiding. He's hiding in the kitchen, like he's hiding from her. After she passes him by, Kristoff tries to get into what looks like a large freezer, but it's got a padlock on it. Now Robin has also gotten up, and she is getting up to roam around to try to find someone to bang. And apparently everyone is looking for Kristoff out of the 4 guys that are there. She bends over to check the sheets, and Kristoff appears behind her. She asks where he was, and he tells her searching the house for her. And you're a damn liar. They start making out, and we get our first shot of breasts at 34 minutes and 50 seconds into the movie. He even opens her butt flap. Yes, she has a butt flap for good measure. And they basically just go at it. Kimberly walks in on him and laughs as she turns to leave. So the next morning, there's a snowman outside of the lodge with the sheriff's glasses on it. I wonder if this will come into play later. Pike and Cole are hanging out, drinking coffee, over by the table with the alcohol on it. Kimberly just walks up and fucking takes Cole's cup right out of his hand. And looks at this man and has the nerve to go, I want breakfast. Possibly eggs. Scrambled, not too runny. Well, the kitchen's over there. I don't know what who the hell you talking to. Pike tells Cole that she must be the fuck of the century because because she's known Kimberly her whole life, and that's the only reason she could ever think of anyone ever putting up with her bullshit. Funny thing, they haven't.
She's not worth it.
He's playing like she is, apparently, because he's kind of a bitch. As much as I like Cole's character, the character of Cole, he's kind of a bitch. Kimberly goes over to Kristoff and hands him Cole's coffee. Now again, she's just in a t-shirt and panties. And this woman sits down on the couch beside this topless guy. And her boyfriend doesn't say a single word about this. And then this bitch has the nerve to hand Kristoff Cole's coffee cup, the coffee that she just took out of Cole's hand. She asks him where he was last night, and he asks, why, did you miss me? And tells her that she's a sight to behold. Again, this is someone else's girlfriend. Skylar and Kirk come out of their room, and they're just ready to go snowboarding. Kimberly asks if they should wait for Chad or something, and Skylar just basically goes, no. Kimberly asks if they should report him missing, and Pike reminds her that they are trespassing. Honestly, nobody really gives two shits about this Chad guy except for Kimberly. And I wrote down that nobody has mentioned the fact that Kimberly is sitting on another guy in just her panties. We cut outside, and Skylar and Kirk are on the ski lift. They're talking. They're basically both getting high. Spoiler: Kirk is a major pothead. How he can function, I don't know. But as they're going up the ski lift, they see a sign that says, "Don't jump off the ski lift." So what's the first thing Kirk decides to do? Jumps off the ski lift. And we get some shots. Kurt's snowboarding down the mountain. He ends up going off trail and going to basically have fun. We see the killer skier watching him from far away. We cut to the rest of the group, and everyone has a snowboard except for Kimberly, who has skis. Pike asks her when she's going to join the rest of her generation and grab a snowboard. Kimberly says that snowboarding has taken the fashion out of skiing. She said, she looks at Pike and goes, "Look at your fat ass. That's proof of it." Then she says to take a look at the work of art that is her derriere. Kristoff offers to teach her how to snowboard, and Cole objects. Kimberly tells him that Kristoff has a technique that Cole will never have, and she heads up the mountain with Kristoff. Now, I would have broken up with this girl by now.
I would have too. Seriously. What the hell?
But Cole is a cuck. He's just a cuck. I mean, that's the best way to put it. We cut over to Kirk, who has reached a spot on the mountain with no snow and a mysterious mine entrance. We hear some voices coming out of the door, and he goes to inspect. And when he does, he meets up with the killer skier. The killer skier swings an axe at him. He blocks with his snowboard, and instead of being scared or going or anything, he basically just goes, "Oh, gouge," and can't believe that there is an axe stuck in his board. So the skier grabs a giant icicle and essentially stabs him in the chest with it. And all Kirk says is, "You, karma, bad," before dying.
Did this guy have a personality?
A little bit, yeah. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was the best thing he said in the entire movie, but it's like throughout the movie, he's just like the chillest guy that ever lived.
And every time you see him, he's got a joint in his hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great character. Barely did anything. Like I said, I like the last dying words. So the skier uses the axe to break the rest of his snowboard. Cut back to the rest of the group having fun boarding. Cole goes flying, and Pike is going down after him. When she gets down, he goes flying off, kind of like off trail, where he's not supposed to be. Pike goes after him to check on him. When she gets down there, he's out cold, and Pike asks if he's okay. He grabs her, and they play wrestle for a minute, and they're flirting. And we cut over to Robin as she gets on the ski lift, and as she does, the evil skier jumps on beside her, and Robin, being the person that she is, doesn't question it. She gets excited and flirty and just goes, "Oh, I didn't know there was anybody else up here." And he doesn't answer her. She says, "Hello, hot babe talking to you," and that her girlfriend owns this property. She says they only want to share with people who don't suck. He looks down at her board, and she just basically says, "Get used to it." She says he doesn't have to like it, but boulders are the future. He points to a sign that basically is the first rule of skier's code. Always ski in control. Robin says, whatever, we make up our own rules. And he grabs her and they start struggling a little bit and he keeps pointing at the sign. She screams that those are skiers' rules and don't apply to them. He pulls out the pamphlet from earlier and kind of like tries to force it on her. And they're struggling on the ski lift. She finally pushes him off the lift and she's there by herself. Well, one of the other rules or one of the other signs had said something about loose clothing. I wonder if that will come into play. Skylar is boarding by himself and sees the woman from yesterday. She skis over to him and they introduce themselves, and it is clearly the woman from the bar from last night who was, flirting with him, kinda. Skylar offers to teach her how to snowboard, and she says no, that she tried to do it once and it just wasn't for her. Cut back to the ski lift, and Robin, and I've noticed that she's moving that scarf around quite a bit, and it is hanging off loosely. Um, I wrote down that it's getting pretty close to the cables, but however, it doesn't get stuck to the cables; it gets wrapped around the chair itself. She falls, or she jumps off the ski lift. She trips, and it starts to drag her, and she's essentially being hung by the scarf on the ski lift. She hits this thing a stop gate, and I believe again, I've been on a ski lift before in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, but never an actual ski lift. She hits, I guess, the stop gate, which to me, I'm assuming and it basically automatically stops the lift. It kind of just seems like a safety mechanism. Um,
It's supposed to be.
yes. Uh, Skylar, and basically the whole skip, the ski lift stops. Skylar goes, curses. Now we have to walk. And her name is Shelly, by the way. I kept writing new skier, but her name is Shelly. Says to allow her to be the knight in shining armor. And she picks up the phone. She picks up a phone and asks if it's all clear up top, and there's no answer. So she hits the almost like an emergency start button. It moves a little bit, lifting Robin off the ground before it stops again. And then it goes again, and we see Robin's limp corpse hanging on the lift. Robin is now dead. This, to me, is one of the most creative kills in the movie. I like this kill. It's not like graphic, but it's still pretty visual. The only thing I would change personally is her struggling, maybe get as she's she's choking to death.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, because it kind of just like cuts back and she's dead. And then we cut to Skylar and his new friend, who tells him that her dad hates snowboarders. He tells her how Kimberly is buying the place, and the new girl says they can't stay there, only because she used to work there, and her mom died, and now I'm getting serious red flags from this chick. She kind of flashes him her cleavage from under her parka, because like apparently she's not wearing clothing under her parka and her snow pants. Like I said, it's a very awkward flirting between it. Just more awkward flirting between the two. She finally takes his glove off and shoves it down her coat, and they start making out on the ski lift as it keeps going up. They all of a sudden realize they're at the top, and we see Robin's lifeless body just floating by. They kind of go down the mountain a little bit, and Shelly's dad is now on the mountain and starts yelling at her. He's the bartender from last night, basically. He tells Skylar he told him and his friends to stay away from this place, and that Skylar tells him that Skylar tells him that his friend's dad is buying the place, and that nobody and the bartender says nobody's bought anything yet. We cut to Pike and Cole. They're sitting in the snow eating a sandwich, they're calling Kimberly on the radio. She's basically kind of snowboarding, but she keeps falling down. And they ask if she's seen Robin or Kristoff, and she says no, they ditched me. And as they ask, hey, have you seen Robin? Her lifeless corpse floats on by on the ski lift.
And they don't notice.
They do not. I thought that was funny. Kimberly tells Cole to come and get her. He tells her to sit tight and they'll come find her. Then all of a sudden, Kristoff shows back up, and Kimberly says, never mind, I've been rescued. Again, now you're single. Like, I'm not. No. Cole has taken a whatever dude approach to Kimberly's bullshit, as he and Pike seem to be getting closer. We now cut to the mine entrance where we see all we see is a trail of blood leading inside the mine. And we cut back to Cole and Pike walking, and Skylar shows up. Skylar tells Cole that he saw the chick from the bar and she's totally into him. Tells him that she skis in the nude. They see a snowman and they basically go to investigate. It is the snowman from earlier. When they get closer, they see a human hand in it, and Pike thinks it's fake and a prank. So she kicks the snowman over, only to find the body of the sheriff with an ice pick sticking out of it. And it was actually a really good image.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they did a really good job showing, like, frostbite and the the pick stuck in his forehead. It just looked good. Cole immediately thinks that Kristoff is the one who killed the cop and starts calling over the radio for Kimberly. Like, he didn't even think about it for a second. His mind immediately went to Kristoff. We cut back to the lodge where Cole is freaking out. Pike tries to calm him down, saying it could have been anybody, could have been Chad since nobody's seen him yet. And she makes a great point telling Cole that just because some Eurotrash pretty boy is a threat to his shitty relationship with that manipulative bitch of a girlfriend of his doesn't automatically make him a killer. Pike is smart.
Yes.
Cole says her cousin didn't, and again, I wrote down, didn't know they were related, is out there by herself, and God knows what's happened to Robin or Kirk. Pike decides to head out, or he basically goes running off to find Kimberly. Pike decides to go out by herself because Skylar said, no, fuck that. We now cut to Kimberly, who is in her bra and panties by a hot tub, and Kristoff is telling her how beautiful she is. Kimberly tells him that he can the act and it's time to play their own little game of truth or dare. She asks him whose dump this is and basically tells him that they didn't meet up by accident with him. He says he saw her at the gas station, and she stops him again and says he knows this place too well and he was hiding from the sheriff. She removes her top and goes to kiss him, and I laugh out loud because they are not showing anything on this woman. Like, they are showing just enough to not be nudity. Like, let's ignore that they've had nudity in the movie already. They just won't show this one woman. Let's see. She grabs his wallet. Basically, she reaches behind him as she kisses him and grabs his wallet, finds his real name and address, and he finally tells her that this was his parents' place, or his friend's parents' place. He tells her that she doesn't understand and that he needed to get into the lodge. She removes her panties and tells him that she loves the fact that he's done nothing but lie to her ever since they met. And this chick is really attracted to weird stuff.
Yes.
She removes her panties and hops in the tub. We cut to Pike and Skylar. They go off the trail at the same point that Kirk did earlier, and they're still looking for their friends. We go back to Kimberly and Kristoff in the hot tub, where he tells her he's a killer. He says, like in the story, he thinks his friends were murdered. And then we cut back to Pike and Skylar. They're sliding down the mountain to the mine shaft entrance. Back to Kristoff telling Kimberly that they didn't kill that little girl. Kristoff says that he dated the Shelley girl at one point, and his daughter was, or her sister was the one that was killed, and that her father hates snowboarders, and he thinks he's the one who did something to his friends. The entire time, she's trying to basically fornicate with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kristoff says in order to prove that he had to get into the lodge, she finally gets tired of the story and shoves his head underwater for him to get to work. Pike and Skylar have now entered the mine shaft and find tons of pamphlets scattered around, and Skylar is filming like a bunch of the old news clippings, and it's all the stuff that we already know. The wife of the resort owner was killed by a drunk driving teens, the snowboarding accident that killed his daughter, and a lot of trophies in that. And then they find a shrine to the little girl with lit candles and dolls hanging around. And then they find the little girl's fucking body. Like somebody has like Mrs. Bates this little girl in this cave where her body is sitting up in a chair like she's still playing. And that was a little creepy.
Very.
I did not expect that one.
Me either.
So Skylar realizes it's the little girl from the accident. As he does, the evil skier shows up, and Pike screams and slams the door on him. As she does this, Kirk's body falls over onto her, and the door is now jammed, basically with Pike's body and Kirk's body. When she finally gets the body off of her, the door swings open, and evil skier ends up tripping over Kirk's body, lands face first. Pike kicks him in the face, and they go running, but Skylar dropped his camera, so he goes back for it and receives an axe to the thigh for his troubles. Pike hits the guy with her snowboard and basically just kicks his ass.
Yes.
Like, Pike has become a badass.
I love her kicks.
Yes, they were kind of convincing. She finally knocks him out, and Pike and Skylar run off. Back at the hot tub, and Kimberly and Kristoff are getting it done when Cole shows up and catches them in the act. Kimberly tries it's not what it looks like bullshit, which it always is what it looks like. Cole tells her that she's banging a killer, and like he doesn't care that she's banging Kristoff. It's just no, you're screwing a killer right now, dude. She says, "Yeah, I know it was an accident." He tells her that he's killed the sheriff and her friend. Kimberly says the little girl wasn't my friend. And again, I didn't think this chick could get any more annoying. Cole goes running off. Kimberly jumps out of the tub in her basically already wearing her panties again, by the way, that she already took off. And again, I wrote down they are doing a lot not to show anything on this chick. She goes after Cole. Pike and Skylar yell for Cole and Kimberly. Pike tells them they ran into the killer and found Kirk's body. Cole tells her that her lover is a serial killer. Tells Kimberly that her lover is a serial killer. that he stabbed the sheriff and he got Robin too, because she's strung up on the lift. We never get any kind of scene or shot of them discovering Robin's body floating.
No.
And I feel robbed.
Very.
Like, I wanted that reaction. But now it's just Cole going, yeah, your friend Robin's hanging up there on the ski lift, by the way. Pike says that Kristoff couldn't have been the killer because she was just face to face kicking his ass a few minutes ago. Kimberly says Kristoff is not a killer, that the little girl was an accident, and Cole is asking, what little girl? As if they didn't just fucking talk about this last night. Skylar says the fossil in the mine. Talks about basically the little girl in the mine. Nobody cares as they cut to Kristoff, who is relaxing in the tub. Like, this guy is not bothered at all that he was just banging someone else's girlfriend, that he's actually, he kind of ruined his plan trying to get in and prove that this dude killed his friends. But he hears a noise. Here's basically the evil skier shows up and he's dragging a shovel. He thinks it's Kimberly, and she says she's going to kill him if she makes him go again this quickly. He opens his eyes and sees who it is. He starts to freak out and says he didn't tell them anything, and begs for his life before the skier hits him with the shovel. The gang hears the commotion and goes running, and they see Kristoff's dead body in the hot tub. And now Cole finally admits Kristoff is probably not the killer. Like, and it was a funny thing too, because he just walks up. They walk up, see him in the hot tub, and they're like, "Well, I guess he isn't the killer." Like, just nonchalantly, and it was great. Kimberly says they need to call the sheriff, and basically they remind her, sheriff's dead. So Pike, Skylar, and Cole get to the car, and it's been disabled, to the shock of nobody. They hear a scream, and Pike and Cole drop Skylar and go running. We cut to Kimberly, who is standing over 3 dead bodies. But I love this imagery because what the killer has done is made 3 separate snow angels and then dropped a body in each one.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that was definitely a great shot. Great imagery. Especially because one of them was bleeding a little bit too, and the blood in the angel, it looked awesome. We cut to Cole and Pike, and they're helping Skylar into the lodge. Pike has figured it all out. As she hands Cole the pamphlet, she says they're irresponsible skiers. Cole thinks she's full of shit and that nobody would kill over this. They take Skylar upstairs to clean up his wounds. Pike proves to still be the smartest one, as she uses Robin's earrings to kind of seal up his leg, to kind of like stitch it together. Except they're sealing it up, or kind of like stapling it up with the earrings. And now for some reason we cut to a once again pantless Kimberly walking through the lodge. Like, literally in a scene or two before, she's wearing pants. She's got the black leggings on. Now 2 scenes later, she's not wearing pants again. Like,
I wondered about that.
Yeah, you noticed it too, right? Like, she was wearing pants in one scene and not wearing pants in another. Like, they changed their mind or something on the wardrobe for this scene and didn't bother going back and refilming the other scene with her in her panties. And she's walking through the lodge. She's kind of running through the lodge, trying to find a phone and some weapons. She stumbles, and she ends up stumbling upon the skeletal remains of the other snowboarders. Kimberly tells the group that they have got to get out of here. Pike, again, being the smart one, tells Kimberly, hey, the next time we're being stalked by a serial killer, maybe don't go into the basement. And again, Pike is smart.
Yes.
Kimberly goes to hug Cole, and he basically almost like his hand is like about a mile away from her. Like, I really don't want to hug this bitch. Or it could also be that he had blood all over his hands from Skylar. Cut outside where Cole is trying to fix the car, and Pike comes up to check on him. He tells her basically to go inside because it's not safe outside, and she decides to make that if they don't make it, no regrets, and she basically starts kissing him. She makes a joke that says they could always run around the lodge in their underwear until the killer comes, and Cole basically says he can think of a worse way to go. They keep working on the car, and Pike gets excited because it looks like she knows how to fix it. We now see the serial killer unlock a door to the lodge and enter. He walks right past Kimberly, who apparently pretends not to hear him or doesn't hear him as you hear the thumping going up the stairs.
I thought about that. I'm like, how do you not hear this?
Yeah, like he's got like 30-pound boots on. It's as he's walking up the stairs. It's like, you don't hear that? So the killer walks upstairs, basically walks over to Skylar and shoves a ski pole through the camera and then through his eyeball. And they give this really good shot of him falling on the floor and all this blood spurting out and draining out, onto the floor. And then it starts going down a vent. As Kimberly is looking up at the vent, it comes and like basically drops on her face. I kind of like that.
That was a good scene.
She goes running as she finally realizes that the killer is in the lodge. She finally finds Chad as she is trying to hide, and needless to say, Chad is dead. We cut to the killer, and he's just walking down the stairs to the basement. And Kimberly decides to leave her hiding spot and grab the radio. The killer walks back upstairs, and Kimberly is calling for Cole while still hiding in the closet. He finally finds the radio, and of course, his radio is so loud when he responds, or her radio is so loud when he responds, it essentially tells the killer where she is. The killer starts trying to break down the closet door, and we get shots of Kimberly inside screaming, him shoving the pole through the hole. He ends up when he's shoving it in, he hits Chad in the head, and the head comes off and like gets stuck in the pole. And I absolutely loved that.
I did too.
Because the killer's like trying to pull the pole out, and the head is getting stuck in the hole. So the killer basically reaches in, tries to reach for the door knob, and it's out of reach. So the killer just goes away, right? He just like gives up and walks away. Just kidding, because for some reason this bitch, literally 5 to 10 seconds after the killer walks away, decides now is a good idea to try to escape, and she runs right into the killer. We don't see what happens to Kimberly as Cole goes in to check on her, and he finds her in he just finds her in the basement. And Jen, do you remember what her final words to him are?
I never loved you?
I never loved you was the last words she said to him.
Why? How can you be such a bitch?
If you're going to be a bitch, I guess be a bitch till the second you die. Because she literally, I never loved you. And well, fuck you too, bitch. Like
Definite
one of the
shock.
most unlikable characters I've done in a movie on this show. Uh, and I wrote down, what is it? I wrote down, all you can say that is, well, and all you can say to that is, well, I'm glad you're dead.
I was.
As this is going on, the killer has now pushed a freezer or something against the door, barricading Cole inside the basement. And now he goes after Pike. He walks outside, tries to reach Pike. Pike shoves the car in gear. She goes speeding off. He falls to the ground, and Pike decides it's time for round 2. She goes to run him over, but he gets her. Basically, he ends up getting her in the head, killing her. So now Cole is technically the final girl. He's pissed off now that all his friends are dead. He's screaming to the killer to come get him. He gets on the ski lift backwards. And it starts to go up, and he just basically starts breaking every rule on purpose, trying to draw the killer out. He says he hates skiers, and the killer just basically stops the lift partway up, and all Cole can do is go, whoops. So now Cole sees the killer basically at the tree line on a snowmobile a few yards away, and the killer pulls a gun out and just starts shooting at him on the ski lift. Cole and eventually drops off the lift and hides in the tree as the killer appears. Cole runs up, tackles the killer, grabs his gun, and the killer says to get off of his mountain. He says he has it. Basically, it's Bud, the bartender. The guy says to get off. Bud says to get off his mountain. Says he hasn't killed anyone, and he says, "You goddamn snowboarders killed his wife and kids and his daughter." And he tells him, he goes, "A dozen simple rules, and you can't follow any of them." He tells Cole that nobody has died on this mountain except for his family, and that he was just trying to scare them. Cole shoots at the killer and nothing happens because the bullets are blanks. The killer goes to attack Cole, who then knocks him out with the gun. Cole goes to leave, and all of a sudden another snowmobile fires up. And apparently the other guy was telling the truth as this snowmobile starts chasing after Cole. They fly down the mountain, and as they approach the wire, basically you see the wire again. This time Cole doesn't hit it, but the snowmobiler does, and it beheads them. So basically that killer is dead. We don't even get to see who that was. Unless it was supposed to be Bud coming after him. Like, they don't tell us.
No.
So, what are we supposed to think is the killer? Anyways, Cole calls for help on the radio and, of course, gets no response because it's a shitty $50 radio. Literally meant to only, broadcast the short distance that the mountain is. We cut to Cole, and he's just running down the road trying to flag a van down who does the smart thing and doesn't stop at all. He finally makes it to the bar, and the bar is closed. He finds an open door and goes inside. The bar is completely empty, and this is where I wrote, we see a bunch of Christmas decor. But not once did anyone mention that this is a Christmas movie or that it's Christmas. So therefore, this is not a Christmas movie.
No.
As this is the first iteration of Christmas in the entire film. Cole opens a door and it ends up going out back. And as it closes behind him, we see the snowplow from earlier fire up and start slowly moving towards Cole with its blades. Again, this is more like a snowblower, like a giant snowblower than a plow, because it's not going to push out the snow. It's basically almost like an icebreaker. Cole tries to escape, but literally there is none. Like he can't climb up the snow drifts. Um, he can't go back in the door because it's locked. So he's essentially fucked. Um, we see the dead snowplow driver in the seat beside the killer, and the killer is driving it. The killer starts to take their clothes off, and we now see that the killer is Shelly. She wedges a ski pole on the accelerator of the plow, and she screams snowboarders off of her mountain and a couple of other things. As she's standing on top of the plow, Pike suddenly appears on one of the drifts with a shotgun and says, "Shred this bitch," and essentially shoots her off the plow. Shelly stands with blood on her shoulder and she goes after Cole again. Pike shoots her again. This time she flies backwards and gets sucked into the freaking blaze, and that was freaking awesome.
Very.
Just how fast she got sucked into that thing. And it looked great.
It was beautiful.
And the blood coming out of the top, it was awesome. Pike stops the plow, and her and Cole share a post-murder kiss as they escape. Cole decides right now is the time to talk about her nickname, and tells her that he's liberal, so if she wants to bring chicks home, it's okay with him. She cocks her shotgun. Roll credits. That is Shredder. So yeah, that ending. It was, like I said, the kill was pretty cool. The final kill was cool. The kind of nonchalant, whatever, we just killed somebody, let's go home now, kind of rubs me the wrong way, though.
Yeah.
But that is. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
The reaction of not just like sitting there and breathing afterwards. They were trying to make the movie upbeat at the end still, but it'd be like I'd just sit down and breathe and think, "Oh, what just happened?"
And that's basically the common horror trope is, you sit down and go, it's over. And a lot of times when people go, it's over. No, it's not over. We know it's not over. But this time, it is over. That's it. She's dead. But yeah, just the whole nonchalant. All right, let's get in the car. Hey, by the way, how did you get your nickname? Oh, are you bisexual? Hey, do you want to bring girls over? Come on. All right, so just before we do our reviews, just a little bit of trivia for the film on IMDb. The film had a limited theatrical release in the Pacific Northwest of the USA. The film was released in Japan under the title Jason Z, in a laughable attempt to connect it to the Friday the 13th sequel, Jason X. That doesn't make sense at all.
No.
Shredder, of course, has no connection at all with the Friday the 13th series. And finally, this is Candace Moon's debut. Candace Moon plays. What does she play? Evil Skier. So basically, Shelly. She plays Shelly. This is her film debut. Let's see. Soundtrack. Was released on December 16th, 2003. Was filmed in Kellogg, Idaho. And no information at all about how much it made or anything like that. So, Friday, since you are the guest, what did you think about the movie? And then go ahead and give us your rating out of 5 snowboards.
I enjoyed the movie. It is probably one of the best movies I've seen for a podcast in the past 14 weeks, 15 weeks now. And I would, with the state of the last ones, I definitely would give this one about 4 snowboards.
I'm right there with you. These past couple of weeks for me, and these Christmas, and I love Christmas horror, but these Christmas horrors that I watched this year were kind of bad. At least the ones for the show were. Um, Psycho Santa, Krampus Unleashed. They're just terrible. This was a breath of fresh air. I enjoyed it. I think it needed a little more to it for that first maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Um, but in all honesty, it was actually a very fun movie to watch. Definitely a good slasher. Has follows all the tropes. You got your boobs, you got your blood, and you got your killers. Um, I'll give it. I'm probably right there with you about 4 snowboards. There's things they could have fixed. Like who was the snowboarder that got beheaded? Was it Buddy? Was it somebody else? And I'll give it to her. What was her name again? Who played her? Lindsay McKean or McCune or McKeon. I don't know. Really, again, I know I'm butchering this name. Bravo, because you really did convince me you were a bitch.
Yes,
She
very
played
good at that.
Kimberly. And yeah, she did such a good job playing Kimberly, because she was really convincing as this rich, snobby little brat, all the way down to her final lines of "I never loved you."
Oh, yeah.
Just played it perfectly. Um, so yeah, so that is going to do it. Let me bring up real quick my page because I went ahead and announced the next 4 movies that I'm going to do for the next month. At least the one, I'm not in any particular order, of course, but the movies I'm planning on doing for next month. For January, we have 5 weeks in January, so we should have 5 episodes. One of those episodes is going to be Shivers, and we are going to do the Cryptids of Kentucky. Finally, we're going
Ooh.
to get around to Kentucky. I know this week out. Honestly, this is the week that I had planned to do the Shivers episode with the Dayton Christmas killings, but I literally couldn't find any information online or even in a library book any more of um, who got murdered, like who got killed, who did it, and the timelines or anything like that. I just couldn't find enough information to make a long, interesting episode. And I had planned on going live either Christmas night or the Monday. I had planned to go live for a little bit, at least on Twitter, X, or Facebook or something, to talk about Christmas legends and things like that. Because there's a lot of legends out there, um, including was it Hans Trap. This The story of Hans Trap was actually really interesting. Um, I can do it real quick. Basically, it was almost like a Scrooge type character. Apparently, he was a real guy, and he was a miser. He was cheap and kind of an asshole to everybody. And apparently, he was such a jerk to everybody that they kicked him out of the village, like legitimately, um, and made him go live in the woods. And they started, the whole rumor of, hey, if you get too close to the woods, Hans Trapp will get you and pull you in and eat you. And then it became a legend over the years in France. And then I went back and looked at some more of the legends, and I realized every one of these legends is to basically scare the shit out of children.
Yes. Yes, they are.
And Christmas time. And I was laughing. It's like every one of these is, if you don't behave, there's a monster that's gonna come and fucking eat you.
Yeah.
It's like growing up, my grandparents, always, this is the 80s and 70s, so they always did the whole, hey, if you run away too far from home, the gypsies will come and kidnap you. And we realized after a year or so that they were full of shit.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a kid. I'm a kid of the '80s and the '90s. I grew up. I was a teenager in the '90s, a kid in the '80s, and as a kid of the '80s and '90s, we had run of the entire city almost. Our parents did not care where we were until 10 o'clock come around, and that commercial, that whole it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And then all of a sudden you'd hear a collective, "Oh shit, we have kids." Um, but
That is
next month,
why
like,
those commercials were made, to remind them they had children.
yes, it's like, "Hey, it's 10 o'clock. Are your kids back inside yet?" Shit. So yeah, like I said, next month at some point we'll do the Cryptids of Kentucky. Uh, and as for the movies for next month, we're looking at Igor and the Lunatics, Shriek Show, Killer Karaoke, which is a horror movie all the way from Thailand, and
And
finally, from the Polonia brothers again, the guys who brought us Sharkula, House Squatch. So that's what you
sounds
get to look. That's what you get to look forward to next month on the Bloody Binge Movie Podcast. They might change. I'm not going to promise those are the movies, but those are the ones I'm planning on doing. If I get a random hair up my ass, it might change. Who knows? But Friday, where can we find you at?
Oh, I'm here at the Owlite Network. I'm at Fake Horror. I'm at Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. And of course, you can find me at my author page, Jennifer Elliott.
And what are you guys doing on Monday? What movie are you guys doing for Tomb? Tomb of
Monday
the
is
Terrible.
Mac and Me. And you
Mac
are
and
definitely welcome to join us on Monday.
I will see what's going on. Mac and Me. Oof.
You always have a standing invitation to anything we do.
I have. Yeah, I know. I do know. Raz has told me before. It's finding the time on my end is what it is with the
Hmm.
kid and making sure he's doing his homework, and
Oh yeah,
it
I
just
got
there's
three.
a
I
lot of stuff going on. Um, but it's now going to be called Uncle Nero's, right? Uncle Nero's Tomb of the
Uncle
Terrible.
Necro's Tomb of the
Or Necro's.
Terrible.
Yes, in honor of James, which rest in peace. I never met the guy, unfortunately, never got a chance to talk to him, but from what I've seen on here and what I hear, he was a great guy.
Definitely.
But you can find me everywhere. The Bloody Binge Movie Podcast on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, where I do upload the episodes. You can also find the episodes, any backlogged episodes, over on the Owlite Network YouTube page. You can also find I got to start doing it again. I haven't done it for a couple of weeks, but you can also find the audio only version of the podcast anywhere Spreaker is or uploads. That includes Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio podcast, and pretty much, like I said, anywhere Spreaker uploads podcast, you will find the audio version only. And you can also find me on Twitch at Sewer Dweller 78. I'm hoping to get that up and running again. I played a couple of hours recently on GTA 5 for the Christmas, and just the amount of hackers on there for GTA 5 is getting ridiculous. To
Very.
the point where you really can't play anything without going into a private lobby, and then that gets kind of boring. Um, but other than that, of course, on the Owlite Network, you will find me. Again, keep a lookout on the Twitter page, on the X page rather, and the Facebook page, and I will announce what's coming up next for next Friday. But other than that, Friday again, thank you for joining me today. It's been fun.
Thank you for letting me join you. I'm so happy to be here.
And guys, let me get this ready real quick. Guys, as always, be nice to each other. And of course, keep watching horror. See you next week.